Chapter 45-60. And Yuan, yes, master. Okay, go. After you complete the mission, you'll be free. By the way, there are surveillance cameras everywhere in this world. Don't act too strong and just grow like a normal person. Also, the more you use your abilities, the shorter your lifespan will be. If someone walked to the balcony, they would see a 5-year-old child giving instructions seriously. An adult and a 6- or 7-year-old child seemed to be discussing some important national affairs. Xing Chen and Yuan opened the window and quietly jumped down in the dark. Brother Tseng, after you complete Master's mission, where do you plan to go to play? And Yuan asked excitedly. Xing Chen, it's just the beginning and you're already thinking about completing the mission. You're too playful. Don't ruin Master's plans. Don't worry, we're just discussing the future. I won't ruin Master's plans. Xing Chen, maybe you'll travel around the world. Then bring me along. But you have to get more money. Traveling around the world requires a lot of red notes from Master. You little brat, you know quite a lot. What little brat? Aren't we the same? If there's a need, I can grow up any time. Seeing the two leave, Tang Guo quietly went back to her room to sleep. Tang Guo found that Yang Yuxuan had changed a little. At least, she didn't just listen to whatever Jiang Juxiang said. Especially when Jiang Juxiang said something about her, Yang Yuxuan would definitely refute Jiang Juxiang. It wasn't that Yang Yuxuan didn't want to get out of this marriage, but everyone around her thought that she married well. She was too pretentious and didn't know what was good for her. People were different. Some people could grow up independently, but people like Yang Yuxuan, who had been arranged to grow up by her parents, didn't have this ability. After not being recognized and being attacked time and time again, she only doubted her life and became dispirited. Coupled with the influence of the environment, she fell sick. People who knew her well knew that people with this illness were emotionally and mentally abnormal. Normal people couldn't understand the pain in their hearts. When the illness wasn't serious, they only needed someone to gently pull them up. The worst thing about Yang Yuxuan's situation was that no one could help her. In the following days, Tang Guo would take Yang Yuxuan to the beauty salon in the morning. Yang Yuxuan was also used to such a life. She didn't want to stay in that depressing room all the time. Even if Jiang Juxiang's words were harsh, she almost subconsciously refuted Jiang Juxiang with Tang Guo standing beside her. This feeling made her very happy. Jiang Juxiang was very angry. She felt that Yang Yuxuan's temper was getting weirder and weirder. Jiang Juxiang was so angry that she planned to talk to the old ladies about her weird-tempered daughter-in-law when she went downstairs for a walk in the community square. However, after she finished complaining, she found that everyone was looking at her with a strange expression, and no one agreed with her. Jiang Juxiang stood there awkwardly. Actually, I've consulted the doctor. Your Yuxuan's lifestyle is actually healthier for pregnant women and children. Yeah, we're all with Yu Xian now. Auntie Jiang is too careful. Previously, when we went with Yu Xian for a prenatal checkup, the doctor said that her condition was much better than before. Who said I have to stay in the house every day when I'm pregnant? It's just that you have to go out more often and buy something you like so that your body and mind can be healthy. Vertex. Chapter 45-61. Jiang Juxiang said, Yu Xian has been very picky about her food recently. I'm just worried that it won't be good for the child. Auntie Jiang, don't worry. We've been fighting with Yu Xian recently. Li Yun said with a smile. Although she was smiling, she felt that Jiang Juxiang probably couldn't tolerate Yu Xian. Wasn't she just living a little more comfortably? If they weren't familiar with Yu Xian, Jiang Juxiang would really have succeeded in finding fault with her. Guogua had told them that Yu Xian originally planned to hire a nanny so that Jiang Juxiang wouldn't be so tired. She didn't say anything bad about Jiang Juxiang. And this Jiang Juxiang actually went out to eat good food because Yu Xian was disobedient and complained that her food wasn't good. What a joke. Wasn't she the one who exposed this? Yu Xian didn't say anything bad about this mother-in-law at all. Previously, they all thought that Jiang Juxiang was a good mother-in-law. Now they understood that some people really knew how to pretend. They still remembered how haggard Yu Xian looked before. Ever since she went to skincare every day and went to a private restaurant for pregnant women's meals with them, her complexion visibly improved. They also found out from Yu Xian that she was spending her own money. She was already pregnant. Eating better and treating herself better wasn't something she should do, right? Yu Xian didn't say anything bad about Jiang Juxiang. It was just that her living habits were a little different. She could handle her own matters and didn't need to tire her mother-in-law out. Of course, Yu Xian didn't say much. These were all asked by Guogua. The child must be telling the truth. She would occasionally ask Guogua about Yu Xian's family situation. Only then did she find out that Jiang Juxiang's cooking was terrible. She was practically raising Yu Xian like a pig. Who said that she had to eat meat every meal when she was pregnant? It was all oily food and there wasn't even a decent portion of vegetables. She also found out from Tang Guo that Tang Tailin often came back after 12 o'clock. She also said that Yu Xian often couldn't sleep because of this and would wake up in shock. When Tang Tailin came back, she would stare at the door. She knew that Tang Tailin wasn't that busy. His wife was pregnant. No matter how busy a man was, he had to take some time out of the week to accompany her, right? From Tang Guo's mouth, she found out that Tang Tailin had never accompanied Yu Xian to a single prenatal checkup. Not only that, he never cared about Yu Xian at home. They might not even speak a word to each other for a whole day. They might not even see each other once. How were they husband and wife? They were simply strangers. In the past, they all thought that Yu Xian was very happy. Now, they suddenly realized that Yu Xian was not happy at all. Jiang Juxiang kept saying that Yu Xian would give birth to a golden grandchild for her. Li Yun felt that Tang Tailin's existence was just like a sewing machine. He was simply treating Yu Xian as a tool to give birth to a child. Not only did he not treat Yu Xuan well, he even made her pregnant. What a jerk. Disgusting. Team up. What team? Jiang Juxiang asked in a sharp voice. She looked at the people around her. Even those who were close to her didn't say anything bad about Yang Yuxuan. She felt a little nervous. Something was not right. She had told them about Yang Yuxuan's previous situation. Shouldn't these people have followed her and complained that Yang Yuxuan was picky? Li Yun replied, maternity meals. Needless to say, the maternity meals at that private kitchen are very good. Our team up this time was very worth it. The dishes were all very appetizing. Moreover, we could watch them cook through the glass. My mother even went to watch them twice. My mother was so worried about people, but she agreed to let me share that maternity meal. Auntie Jiang, don't worry. Yu Xian will be fine. Jiang Juxiang's ears were buzzing. She didn't want to talk to these people. She couldn't win against so many mouths. Maternity meal. It must be a scam again. Peak. Chapter 45-62. However, so many people thought that it was good, especially these old ladies. If it was really not good, they would not have agreed to let their daughter and daughter-in-law do it. Jiang Juxiang felt bored and decided to go home to watch TV. Recently, Yang Yuxuan had been really infuriating. No wonder Yang Yuxuan said that there was no need to prepare food for her. It turned out that she had prepared some maternity food. If she didn't cook, then so be it. She didn't even bother. I used to think that Yuxuan had a good life. That's right. Some things really can't be judged on the surface. I've always been curious. Tang Tailin never comes out with Yuxian. It turns out that they don't get along at all. They don't get along, yet they still want her to give birth to a child. Judging from Jiang Juxiang's words, she won't be satisfied if she doesn't give birth to a child of her own. Does their family Tang have a throne to inherit? Jiang Juxiang usually has the nerve to say that, but Yang Yuxuan is just like that. How much has she sacrificed? None of you noticed how bad Yuxian's condition was before. By the way, Xiao Yun, you said that Yuxian might be suffering from depression. I've been reading a lot of books about this recently. Combined with Yuxian's situation, it's really possible. Li Yun nodded. Not only that, a friend of mine from the hospital also told me that Yuxian seems to have registered in the psychology department. His wife is cold every day and doesn't care about him at all. How can he not have problems in his heart? There's also a man who looks forward to having a penis in her belly every day. He must be under a lot of pressure. Fortunately, Guogua is sensible. Otherwise, Yuxian's life would be even more difficult. Li Yun, I asked Guogua. Yuxuan is often forced by Jiang Juxiang to eat fatty and greasy things. Jiang Juxiang is simply raising people like pigs. Actually, Jiang Juxiang didn't live here in the beginning. It was when Yuxuan was pregnant with her first child that she moved here and never left. I heard that she boasted before that Tang Tailin bought her a house, but now that house, she gave it to her daughter's family to live in. It's fine to say that her daughter's family lives in it, but she also brought her parents-in-law to live in that house. An old lady said. Everyone was speechless. This was a bit too much. Yuxian was really unlucky to give up her house for her daughter's family and her parents-in-law to live in. Isn't it just bullying Yuxuan for not knowing how to speak and being an honest person? Speaking of which, Yuxian's family background wasn't bad. For Tang Tailin to be able to marry Yuxian, it was already climbing up the social ladder. Yuxian was a city girl after all, while Tang Tailin was born in the countryside. His ability was not bad, but his foundation was not as good as Yuxian's. Actually, it's not that I'm looking down on his family background. It's just that since he's married to a girl, he should treat her well. In fact, these people didn't know that the reason why Tang Tailin's restaurant was so successful was mostly because Wen Ran had helped him a lot when he was in school. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for the restaurant to become so popular just by relying on the family Tang group. The startup funds would not even be enough. Dear host, the comments in the district have changed. Now, we just have to wait for Wen Ran to find out that someone is seducing Tang Tailin and then sacrifice herself. Tang Gua sat on the seesaw and glanced at Xia Fan opposite her. Xia Fan seemed to find the seesaw boring as well. Just wait, Wen Ran will find out soon. Tang Gua was not afraid at all. How could Wen Ran not appear? If Tang Tailin was really tempted by Yang Yuxuan, Wen Ran might take other actions. Vertex. Chapter 45-63. He could allow Tang Tailin to have a descendant like him, but he wouldn't allow Tang Tailin to fall in love with another person. Look, they're having so much fun. Yu Yu told Yang Yuxuan that she was now Yang Yuxuan's psychiatrist and had specially invited Yang Yuxuan to counsel her. I rarely take Guogua to these places, Yang Yuxuan said. I'm very irresponsible as a mother. How can that be? Look, Guogua is so smart. It's all because of you. Yang Yuxuan suddenly remembered that Tang Gua could recognize a lot of words. She remembered that when she was pregnant with Tang Gua, she did a lot of prenatal education. She couldn't help but tell Yu Yu. Yu Yu was surprised. I see. On Tang Gua's side, Xia Fan was sitting on the seesaw with a serious face. His mother insisted that he play this kind of childish game. At first, he refused. But now he was very good at it. Although it was very boring, the little girl opposite him seemed to like it. Seeing that the other party was better than him, he reluctantly played with her for a while. There were many people around, and they couldn't help but look at the two children playing on the seesaw. Especially Tanggua, who was smiling. Xia Fan pursed his lips as if someone owed him millions of dollars. Even if children are unhappy, they still like to play these little games. Ha ha ha, I also found out that the little boy must have been wronged, and the little girl is coaxing him and playing games with him. Xia Fan, who knows that the eyes tell them that he was wronged? Is it fun? Xia Fan asked. Tanggua nodded. It's fun. Xia Fan, don't you think it's childish? I'm only 5 years old. I'm still a child. Xia Fan had nothing to say. He could only play with Tanggua. If it weren't for her mental arithmetic, he wouldn't have come to play such a stupid game like the seesaw. How could a seesaw be fun to do mental arithmetic? Little girls were really different from boys. They were especially childish. But he was willing to admit defeat. It was okay to play reluctantly. My mother said that you're going to take the special student test in my school next year. Xia Fan changed the topic. I don't think there's a problem. Your mental arithmetic is already 6 digits. The teacher will like it very much. Xia Fan told Tanggua a lot of things about the school. He also said that he had joined the school through the special student test. After all, they had to draw lots to attend primary school. If they wanted to choose the school they liked, this was the only way. In fact, Tanggua doesn't need to take the special student test. According to her memory, she can also get into this school. However, there were always many accidents. Besides, she needed to be Yang Yuxuan's pride, so she still went to school as a special student. She was looking forward to next year. She probably wouldn't be in the same class as Meng Shi, but she had to get to know Meng Shi. Next year, her younger sister would be born as well. By then, she would be able to start thinking about how to get Yang Yuxuan and Tang Tailin to divorce. Oh, before that, he had to expose Tang Tailin and Wen Lang's relationship and ruin his reputation. Xiao Fan, don't always take your little sister Guogua to play on the seesaw. Go play something else. Take your little sister Guogua to play on the swing, Yu said. Xia Fan refused, but Tanggua stared at him and said, go play on the swing. Xia Fan, okay. I'll sit, you push. Xia Fan, okay. The two of them walked to the swing. Tanggua sat on it, and Xia Fan silently began to push. He didn't know how he ended up pushing a swing. How did you do it? Xia Fan asked. Tanggua tilted her head. What did you say? You calculated 6 digits in your head. My mom said that you didn't take any mental arithmetic training, but you can calculate 6 digits. How did you do it? Xia Fan asked seriously. Tanggua was silent for a moment. How did she do it? Her soul was strong, so she didn't need to think hard to find the answer. This was bullying. Maybe, it's talent. I didn't calculate it before, Tanggua said. Xia Fan's eyes flashed. He knew that there were many smart people in this world, but he didn't expect to meet someone younger than him. Don't you have skills? Does talent need skills? Xia Fan was frustrated. This was too much of a blow. System, ha 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 ha, the host is heartless. Top point. Chapter 45-64. Tang Tailin had recently recruited a new employee. The new employee was tall and strong, honest, and could bear hardships. He came from a remote mountain area. It was said that he came out to broaden his horizons and came here after a bumpy journey. Unfortunately, he met Tang Tai-lin. Recently, the restaurant was preparing to release some high-end dishes, so he had to personally inspect the original ingredients. This new employee of Zhao Xingqin followed him up and down, and he didn't complain at all. Tang Tai-lin was very satisfied with Xingqin. He would bring this employee with him for everything. And Xingqin, as Tang Guo said, was more eager and grateful to Tang Tai-lin. He pretended to be naive, and Tang Tai-lin would naturally teach him things step by step. There was no need to be too ambiguous, and Wen Lang couldn't stand it. Wen Lang knew Tang Tai-lin's orientation. Even if Tang Tai-lin got married and had children, he wouldn't fall in love with a woman. But Wen Lang couldn't stand a man who didn't look bad appearing beside Tang Tai-lin. In just half a month, Wen Lang watched Tang Tai-lin's movements every day. He found that a young man appeared beside him and took care of this young man. He couldn't stand it. One night, Tang Tai-lin left the restaurant and was about to drive home. Actually, he didn't need to stay so late. The restaurant manager could just watch. He only needed to grasp the general direction. He went home so late because he didn't want to face the two people at home too early. He didn't want to eat with them either. He felt uncomfortable all over. When he saw Jiang Juxiang, he would think of her forcing him to get married and have children, and even threatening to jump off a building. When he saw Yang Yuxuan, he would think of enduring the discomfort in his heart and wanting to have children with her. After every time, he would feel a little nauseous, so he didn't want to see her. Tang Tai-lin walked to the parking lot. Just as he was about to open the car door, he was suddenly pressed down. He shouted, "Who are you?" That person turned him over. He was about to break free, and the two of them instantly became silent. After a long time, Tang Tai-lin pushed the person on top of him. "President Wen, I'm going home. You don't say anything when you see me. It's been so many years. What else can I say?" They were already married and had children. What else could they say? Wen Lang did not give up. He pressed Tang Tai-lin down and kissed him fiercely. After a while, he said, "All these years, I've been paying attention to you every day." Without waiting for Tang Tai-lin to resist, Wen Lang pulled him into his car. "But you don't pay attention to me at all, and you even dare to smile at others. Is it because you think I'm old that you've taken a fancy to that young man?" Wen Lang said through gritted teeth. "Dear host, it's a little spicy. If the system had hands, it would definitely cover its eyes." "Well, the two of them are still considered married, right? Are they going to perform on the car just like that? Do you expect this kind of person to control himself?" Tang Guo was not surprised at all. After Wen Lang met Tang Tai-lin, something would happen between the two of them. Wen Lang was a very possessive person with a strong personality, while Tang Tai-lin's personality was slightly more passive. Because of family reasons, the two of them had no choice but to choose one to marry each other. The women who married Wen Lang were mostly only interested in benefits. They did not care about Wen Lang's past. In their circle, it was normal for them to have someone they liked before marriage, but they couldn't get married. Later on, they would still be together. Vertex. Chapter 45-65. The task of their union was to have a son, and then they would have their own fun. There was no problem. In fact, since when Ran was born, Su Yi, Wen Lang's wife, had never lived with Wen Lang again. Su Yi was very different from Yang Yuxuan. She only cared about the two families' enterprises. As long as Wen Lang didn't humiliate her in front of her face, she could turn a blind eye to what he did secretly. Similarly, Su Yi was more open. Wen Lang would not pay attention to her, as long as he could pass on the surface. This also made Wen Ran, who was young, very dissatisfied with his parents. Su-yi had no special feelings for Wen-ran, especially when the child hated her very much when he was a child. She was too lazy to care about him. Now I have helped them meet again, Tang Guo said casually. In the past few years, Wen Lang has been restraining himself. Now he is at the helm of Wen's enterprise, has completed the task of the two families, and has a child with Su-yi. No one can control him. Now, he will not let Tang Tailin go. Wait and see. They will often date and do all kinds of outrageous things. You just need to take the evidence of them being together. Got it, host. The system said bitterly. As a system without a serial number, it was very miserable. It was even forced to see such pictures. It felt so spicy. After handing it to the system, Tang Guo did not pay attention to it. The system asked her whether she wanted to see the pictures of Wen Lang and Tang Tailin. She quickly refused. I am a child. I can't see those things. System, that's pretty good, huh? Yang Yuxuan was in a good state recently. Even if you did not ask Yang Yuxuan to go out, she would communicate with Yang Yuxuan on the internet every day. Gradually, Yang Yuxuan would tell Yu something about her family. Under Yu's careful planning, Yang Yuxuan finally couldn't help telling Yu her experience in these years late at night. When Yu saw those paragraphs of text, she fell silent. She thought that Yang Yuxuan's illness was caused by her not having a deep relationship with her husband. After all, they got married on a blind date, and her pregnancy was neglected. She did not expect that the real culprit was Tang Tailin and Jiang Juxiang's marriage fraud. Yu, have you talked to your family about this? Yang Yuxuan, when I first realized that Tang Tailin didn't have any feelings for me, it was already a year after I gave birth to Guoguo. I told my family that Tang Tailin and I might not be suitable for each other. At that time, I didn't realize that. Yu, what did your family say? Yang Yuxuan, they think I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. They said that many couples sleep in separate rooms after they have children. I'm overthinking. They all felt that it was not easy to find such a husband and felt that it was pretentious. You're not being pretentious. Many people are willing to live such a cold and emotionless married life, but it doesn't mean that this method is right. Yang Yuxuan, so, I wasn't wrong to want to end my marriage with Tang Tailin. Even if he kept himself clean, was it hard to find such a husband? You're not happy. What does having a good husband and a good man have to do with you? If he doesn't treat you well and makes you unhappy, then this marriage will be harmful to you. Which man would marry a wife and ignore her? This was called cold violence. Yang Yuxuan, I understand. Thank you, Dr. Yu. Vertex. Chapter 45-66. Yu, what do you plan to do now that you found out that they cheated you into marriage? Yang Yuxuan, my family said that Tang Tailin didn't mess around outside and broke off their previous relationship. They told me to accept reality. They also said that no one has made any mistakes and that it's fine as long as they change. In short, they said that it's not good for me to get a divorce and that I'll regret losing such a husband and mother-in-law. Yu, first of all, Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin hid Tang Tailin's sexual orientation and cheated you into marriage. Just from this point alone, it's their fault. Whether they treat you well or not, they're still cheating you into marriage. It's unforgivable. Not to mention that they don't treat you well. Even if they treat you well, it's not an excuse to forgive them. Yu, if their actions are right, then can you think that it's fine for people who can't get a wife to kidnap a girl and treat her well? Yang Yuxuan, of course not. Yu, that's right. Besides, they don't treat you well. Your mother-in-law just wants you to give birth to a son. Tang Tailin just doesn't have the courage to be with the person he likes. He compromised with his mother and put all the pain on you. Their actions are terrible. Yang Yuxuan, then what should I do? Yu, what do you want to do? Your current living environment is very unfavorable. If this continues, your condition will worsen. You can barely control yourself now, but in the long run, I can't guarantee that you won't do something unconsciously that you'll regret. You're pregnant and have a cute daughter. If something happens to you, what will happen to them? Yang Yuxuan, I want to leave my current environment, but everyone will think that I'm being unreasonable. Yu, life is lived by yourself. Only you know whether it's good or bad. When everyone thinks that something makes you suffer, you should consider that their advice might not be for your own good. It's just that they think it's good. Yang Yuxuan, let me think, Yu didn't say anything else. She was just chatting with Yang Yuxuan as a friend. Yang Yuxuan's condition was good recently. If they chatted more, her condition would stabilize. At least, it wouldn't worsen suddenly. After chatting with Yang Yuxuan, Yu's expression didn't look good. It was as if it was going to rain. Xia Fan looked at Yu's expression and walked over to give her a glass of water. Mom, you're angry with a strange patient again. Have a glass of water and calm down. If his father heard his mother's voice, he would definitely scold him for not taking good care of her. Other people's children were all babies, and he was just a nanny at home. Yu took the cup and patted Xia Fan's head with a smile. Good boy. You are so obedient every time Mom is angry. If it weren't for the fact that being angry is bad for your health, Mom would be angry every day. The corner of Xia Fan's mouth twitched. This idea was really strange. Your Aunt Yang's situation is a bit complicated. Yu shook her head and didn't say much. Xia Fan didn't ask either. Instead, he recalled the little girl who was very happy sitting on the swing. He clenched his fists tightly. He had to calculate 6 digits in his head as soon as possible. He couldn't let a child look down on him. Early in the morning, Tanggua took Yang Yuxuan to do some skincare and makeup. When they were walking on the road, Yang Yuxuan suddenly asked her a question. Guogua, what do you think if Mom doesn't want to live at home? Tanggua was surprised. It seemed that Yu had made some progress. She hurriedly said, then where does Mom want to live? Yang Yuxuan pursed her lips and said, I just don't live at home. I live somewhere else. Vertex. Chapter 45-67. As long as Mommy is happy, it's fine. Anyway, Guoguo will go with Mommy. Yang Yuxuan's originally nervous heart relaxed. She couldn't help but tighten her grip on Tanggua's hand. Really? No matter where Mommy goes, Guoguo will accompany Mommy. Yes, Guoguo only likes to be by Mommy's side. Grandma and Daddy don't like Guoguo. Only Mommy likes Guoguo. Yang Yuxuan's heart ached. It turned out that her daughter was the same as her. They didn't like this family. Then let's find a new place to stay today. What do you think? Of course. Tanggua was overjoyed. This matter was progressing quickly. Yang Yuxuan still needed people her age to chat with her so that she could make the right decision as soon as possible. When they went to the skincare and makeup counter, there were already many people there. Some of them were from the same neighborhood. When she was doing skincare, Li Yun liked to chat with Yang Yuxuan the most. Now, she was very concerned about Yang Yuxuan's situation. Perhaps they were all pregnant women, so their minds were more sensitive. Yang Yuxuan's current situation made her feel very pitiful. She was afraid that her condition would worsen, so she said more happy things to make her happy. Gradually, Yang Yuxuan also treated Li Yun as a friend. Compared to others, she took the initiative to talk to Li Yun more often. The aunties in the neighborhood and the circle of pregnant women all felt that Yang Yuxuan was a little depressed. In addition, Tanggua had already made a good impression on them, so they only felt that Yang Yuxuan was very pitiful. Last time, they even mentioned to Jiang Juxiang if Yang Yuxuan was a little depressed and asked her to pay more attention. However, Jiang Juxiang didn't care at all and even said that she was pregnant. Weren't they all like this? Young people these days were so pretentious. They said that it was bad to be pregnant. Little did they know that Jiang Juxiang's words had offended all the pregnant women here. There were many things that they were unwilling to say to Jiang Juxiang. Jiang Juxiang's attitude also showed that she actually didn't care about Yang Yuxuan's life and death. What she cared about the most was the child in her stomach. It had to be a child with a handle. Because of Yang Yuxuan's matter, these aunties and pregnant women were especially concerned about pregnant women's depression. They even talked to the doctor. In the end, the more they knew, the more they were worried. They didn't expect that this illness, which didn't seem serious, could easily take a life. In the era of those aunties, there were actually many people who committed suicide. At that time, they only felt that those people suddenly couldn't think straight and did something stupid. Now that he thought about it carefully, those people might have contracted this disease. However, at that time, everyone's focus was not on this aspect. This illness had always existed, and it did not appear by chance. Recently, the smile on Yang Yuxuan's face had been growing more and more. Li Yun and the others were very gratified. In their opinion, there should be a part of it, right? Yang Yuxuan suddenly said to Li Yun, "I want to move out. I'm going to give birth in 2 months. I want to move to a quieter place." Move out. Li Yun was surprised. Yang Yuxuan was a little nervous. She looked at Li Yun and found that she was just surprised. She nodded again. "Yes. It's good to move out. I quite agree. It's good for you to change to a quieter environment. It's good for you and the baby. Live near the hospital. It'll be more convenient for you when you give birth. It'll be more convenient to go anywhere. Anyway, we have maternity meals, so we don't need anyone to cook. As for the cleaning of the house, just hire a part-time worker." Li Yun knew that Yang Yuxuan didn't lack money. In the past, she felt that Yang Yuxuan didn't pay attention to her appearance after getting married. Vertex. Chapter 45-68. Thinking about the environment she lived in, she probably didn't have the mood to dress up. This time, it was Yang Yuxuan's turn to be stunned. She thought that Li Yun would think that it was shocking for her to move out. Little did she know that all the pregnant women here sympathized with her. With her house, she might as well move out. However, they didn't say anything. They weren't as direct as Li Yun, but they didn't have any intention of objecting. Yang Yuxuan rarely experienced this feeling of not being refuted immediately. How should she put it? It made her more confident. After skincare and makeup, they went for lunch. After lunch, the group of pregnant women helped to find a place for Yang Yuxuan to live. They were very enthusiastic. After half an hour, they helped to find a house, paid the money, and signed the contract. It was very fast. Returning to the neighborhood, Yang Yuxuan felt that it was a dream. When she returned home, Yang Yuxuan was still a little hesitant because she had ordered a maternity meal. Now, Jiang Juxiang wouldn't make a table full of meat. Seeing Yang Yuxuan return, Heng Wangshu didn't like the look of it and said a few words in a strange tone. When Yang Yuxuan mentioned that she wanted to move out, Jiang Juxiang exploded. Hearing Jiang Juxiang's sharp voice, Yang Yuxuan didn't have much of a reaction. She was used to it. In fact, her heart was even calmer. It wasn't like before. Every time she heard Jiang Juxiang's words, her heart would be very uncomfortable and suppressed, as if it was about to explode. This time, she watched as Jiang Juxiang kept talking. She didn't react much. After Jiang Juxiang finished speaking, she said, I've already rented a house. You're rebelling. What's wrong with your house? Why do you have to move out? Jiang Juxiang was furious. If word got out, people would think that her mother-in-law did something to her. Ever since Yang Yuxuan became pregnant, she became more and more troublesome. Yang Yuxuan looked at Jiang Juxiang and said the words that had been buried in her heart for a long time, what's so good about this place? A mother-in-law who treats me like a pig and only wants me to give birth to a grandson. A husband who I don't even see once a day and doesn't talk to at all. He's cold and silent and comes back every morning. Is this good? Jiang Juxiang was stumped, but she quickly reacted, isn't Tai Lin working so hard to support this family? Not a single cent of the money he earns has landed in my hands. Whatever I buy when I go out, I spend my own money. Support the family. I don't feel anything. Seeing that Jiang Juxiang was about to say something, Yang Yuxuan stopped Jiang Juxiang with one sentence. You know very well why Tang Tailin married me. He doesn't like me. He likes a man. He still can't forget that man. Don't think I don't know. When she said this, Yang Yuxuan only felt that she had vented her anger in her heart. If I had known about this, I would never have married him. It's you who hid it too well. You're cheating. Yang Yuxuan glanced at Jiang Juxiang and returned to her room. Jiang Juxiang was so angry that she clutched her chest. This was too infuriating. However, she couldn't refute Yang Yuxuan's words. It wouldn't look good if others knew about it. Regarding this matter, it was better to call the in-laws tomorrow. He hoped that they could persuade her to come back. If she didn't want to stay at home, what was the point of going out to live? Those who did not know would think that she was bullying her daughter-in-law. It would not be good for Thailand's reputation. The next morning, the workers hired by Yang Yuxuan came over to help her move some things that she needed. Under Jiang Juxiang's gloomy expression, she held on to Tanggua's hand and left. When they arrived at the rented apartment, Yang Yuxuan stood in front of the window. She felt that the air was a lot fresher. Perhaps she should have moved out sooner. Does Guogua like it here? Yes, Tanggua replied. Just as Yang Yuxuan was about to say something, her phone rang. She picked up the phone and looked at the caller ID. Her smile faded a little. Mom. Yuxuan, why did you move out? What's the big deal? Why do you have to move out? Can't we discuss it properly? You really want to anger your father and I to death. Yang Yuxuan listened to the person on the phone nag for a long time. She waited until there was no more sound from the other end before she said, Mom, if I don't come out, I might die there. The Summit. Chapter 45-69. Yang Yuxuan's words stunned Mother Yang on the other side of the phone. She couldn't say anything for a while because Yang Yuxuan rarely refuted her. Her daughter had always been well-behaved, and they were very satisfied with her growth. From childhood to now when she got married and had children, she always thought that her daughter's life was smooth and perfect. Many people envied her. That was why she stopped Yang Yuxuan. In today's society, there were very few men who could find a family like Tang Tailin who had the ability and didn't go out to fool around. No matter what, it's not right to move out. Your mother-in-law should be angry now. What will the people in your community think of you? If she casually says something, your reputation will be ruined. Mother Yang persuaded. Yang Yuxuan, Mom, do you want me to live well? Yuxuan, what are you thinking? Of course, I want you to live well. Otherwise, I wouldn't persuade you to go back. You have 2 children now. One is going to primary school, and the other is going to be born. If there are any family conflicts, what will happen to these 2 children? Mom, I can live well if I live outside. Yang Yuxuan was very persistent this time. Perhaps she had never received so much support before, so she wanted to try. From childhood to adulthood, her life was arranged by her parents. It was indeed smooth and there were no bumps. Unlike her classmates, there were always accidents in the middle. If she hadn't met Tang Tailin on her blind date, but someone else, she might have been able to live the rest of her life as her parents had wished and live a smooth life. However, she met Tang Tailin, the person who wanted to push her into the abyss. You child, when did you become so stubborn? Mom, didn't you say that you want me to live well? If I go back, I will only live a good life in the eyes of others. If I come out, I will live a good life in my own eyes. Yang Yuxuan's words made Mother Yang somewhat unsure of what to say. Yuxuan, what happened? Tang Tailin doesn't like me. I told you a long time ago that he likes a man. He still hasn't forgotten that man. You said that he is a good man, but this is not for me, but for the person he likes. You said that he is clean and honest, but in fact, he is not for me, but for that man. Tang Tailin agreed to marry me and have children with me just to deal with Jiang Juxiang. Jiang Juxiang only wants me to give birth to a son. Whether I was pregnant with Guoguo or now, Tang Tailin didn't accompany me for a prenatal checkup. Since we got married, except for when I wanted a child, he came home every night after midnight. Unless I open the door, we might never see each other. Mom, do you really think I'm living well? Mother Yang listened to Yang Yuxuan's words and felt that Tang Tailin was a bit too much. She didn't know the details. Of course, she didn't know the details. But she didn't know the details, she began. Her daughter had also told her that Tang Tailin used to like men. She thought that it was because he was young and immature. Now that he had broken it off, it was fine to live a good life. She, mother, him. Yang Yuxuan didn't say anything more. As long as Mother Yang didn't bother her and let her move back, she didn't want to deal with it. Chapter 45-70. After Mother Yang hung up the phone, she called Father Yang and hurriedly got in the car. They were going to Family Tang's neighborhood. Jiang Juxiang was still thinking about when Yang Yuxuan would move back. She had already told Mother Yang about this matter. She thought that Yang Yuxuan would be persuaded to move back soon, so she was too lazy to care about this matter. Now she was downstairs in the neighborhood, chatting with the old ladies. She was crying and talking about Yang Yuxuan moving out. How could she, an old lady, be put in her place? Old Lady Jiang, don't be sad. If you cry like this, I don't know how many floors it will penetrate. Pregnant women can't stand noise the most. I think your family's Yuxuan must not have the heart to say this to you, so she moved out. Old Lady Wu had always been a fearless old lady. Looking at Jiang Juxiang's pretentious appearance and talking about Yang Yuxuan, she was speechless. If they didn't come into contact with Yang Yuxuan every day, they might have been deceived by Jiang Juxiang. Yang Yuxuan was a good girl in their city. She was gentle and had a high education. How could she be as unruly as Jiang Juxiang said? When Jiang Juxiang made a scene, she really looked like a shrew. Jiang Juxiang was a little dumbfounded. This was different from what she thought. Jiang Juxiang looked at these people talking about themselves and didn't care about her wailing. She was very angry. At this time, Jiang Juxiang's mobile phone rang. She took it out and saw that it was Tang Tailin calling. What? Going on a business trip for at least a week? Going to pick high-end ingredients? If you don't feel assured, go personally. Okay, Tailin, don't worry. I will take care of the family. Hearing that her son's restaurant business was getting better and better, Jiang Juxiang finally breathed a sigh of relief. These people were just jealous of her. She didn't tell Tang Tailin about Yang Yuxuan because even if she did, Tang Tailin wouldn't care too much. Now she suddenly felt that her son was right not to like Yang Yuxuan. With Yang Yuxuan's virtue, it would be strange if her son liked her. When Yang Yuxuan gave birth to a grandson, she would be too lazy to care so much. They could do whatever they wanted. Jiang Juxiang took her mobile phone home triumphantly. She didn't even look at the group of old ladies behind her. Look at her smug look. Yu Xian must be having a hard time at home. She even said that Yuxuan was insensible. She let her daughter and son-in-law live in the house that her son bought for her retirement. She came over to freeload with her son. She was shameless. Yuxuan is really unlucky to have married into the Tang family. Tang Tailin may have earned a lot of money, but he has never given it to Yuxuan. Fortunately, she is a city girl with a solid foundation. Otherwise, I don't know what to do. What a pity. At this time, Tang Tailin was in Wenlang's villa. The reason why he called back was because he had gotten back together with his lover. Wenlang had decided to take him on a cruise for half a month, not to pick high-end ingredients. Jiang Juxiang didn't understand these things. He was just looking for an excuse. He was already married and had gotten Yang Yuxuan pregnant. It was time for him to be free. The ticket was for the night of the day after tomorrow. Tang Tailin was still a little tired and planned to sleep a little longer. Meanwhile, at the family Tang estate, Li Yun sat at the side and listened to Auntie Wu and the others gossip. She was playing with her phone when a call suddenly came in. She quickly picked it up. Is this Madame Li Yun? Li Yun was stunned. Could it be an advertisement? But she still didn't hang up. If it was an advertisement and a swindler, she would definitely mess with the other party. I'm Li Yun. You are. Vertex. Chapter 45-71. It's like this. Madam Li, congratulations. You have won a family ticket for a cruise for half a month. Madam Li, please tell us the address. We will arrange for someone to mail the cruise ticket to you immediately. The cruise will depart the day after tomorrow at 8 p.m. It will depart from East City. Li Yun was stunned. She won a cruise ticket? What did she buy to win a cruise ticket? Li Yun hurriedly asked and understood. The last time she went to the supermarket, there was an event at the supermarket. The first prize was a family cruise for half a month. She was too lucky. The aunties in the district were also jealous. She was really lucky. It was a cruise for half a month and it was for the whole family. That meant that as long as there were no more than 5 people, everyone could go. The next day, Li Yun received a boat ticket that would allow the whole family to travel for half a month. This boat ticket could allow 5 people to go. I wonder what kind of sparks will Li Yun's family create with Tang Tailin and Wenlang. Originally, no one could win a cruise ticket. For this kind of event, there were some big prizes that couldn't be won. So, she asked the system to do something. It was also because she knew about Tang Tailin and Wenlang's actions that she thought of this idea. Li Yun was really not bad. She would definitely bring back a surprise to the district. Currently, Li Yun's family had gone to East City and were preparing to board the cruise. Tang Guo was still accompanying Yang Yuxuan. Their activities were the same as before. Ever since they came out, Yang Yuxuan's mood was much better. Furthermore, the day before yesterday, Father Yang and Mother Yang had gone to family Tang district. They heard that Tang Tailin had gone on a business trip and could only return empty-handed. They had asked Yang Yuxuan where she was staying, but she didn't want to say. The couple had no choice but to go back first. They would call Yang Yuxuan every day. So far, nothing had happened. They planned to wait for Tang Tailin to come back and settle this matter. Li Yun's family was already on the cruise. They were having a good time. This cruise was extremely luxurious. The cruise tickets they got allowed them to go to every district. The cruise was too big. They could only play floor by floor. Until they reached the entertainment city on the cruise. It was more like a gambling city. Oh my God, this is where the real rich people come to. When Auntie Wu heard the voices of those people adding chips, she was extremely agitated. Why were these people adding millions of chips? They were too rich. If he lost, he would lose tens of millions or even hundreds of millions. Oh God, I can't take it anymore. Auntie Wu quickly pinched her philtrum and warned the Li family that they could only watch and not gamble. Li Yun and the others hurriedly nodded. They were just taking a look. Wouldn't their hearts ache if they lost so much money? Their hearts ached just looking at it. After walking around for a while, Li Yun suddenly saw a familiar person. She covered her mouth in shock and pulled Auntie Wu. Mom, look, to be honest, Tang Tailin didn't know anyone in the neighborhood, so even if Auntie Wu and the others were standing in front of him, he wouldn't recognize them. That's Tang Tailin, right? Li Yun whispered, why is he here? Didn't he say that he was going to get high-end ingredients? There's something fishy about this. Lower your voice. Don't let anyone hear you. Auntie Wu said. She had already hung her phone around her neck and turned on the camera. This way, no one would suspect that she was filming something. Li Yun couldn't help but give her mother a thumbs up. Her mother was really amazing. She would never say that the phone hanging around the old lady's neck was old-fashioned again. Fuck, who is that man? She actually pulled Tang Tailin and kissed him. Oh no. Does Yuxuan know about this? I suspect she knows. Whether she knows or not, Yuxuan is very unlucky. Peak. Chapter 45-72. Mom, should we tell Yuxian about this? Li Yun's family returned to the room and looked at the video taken by Auntie Wu's phone. It was very clear. It was all the interaction between Tang Tailin and a man. The two of them were intimate and unrestrained. They did not care about the people around them. In their opinion, it was a little eye-catching. Do you think Jiang Juxiang knows about this? Auntie Wu snorted coldly. Jiang Juxiang is Tang Tailin's mother. How could she not know what kind of person her son is? Previously, I thought that Tang Tailin was a gentle person who did not speak much and never communicated with us. He left early and returned late. He did not recognize us before. But look at him and that man. To put it bluntly, they look like two slutty little hoofs. Li Yun tugged at Auntie Wu. Mom, these words are too harsh. Harsh. It's wrong for a man to have an affair. Tang Tailin's matter is even harder than having an affair. Didn't you realize that he's the one at the bottom? We have to tell Yuxian about this. However, we have to be tactful. Xiao Yun, test Yuxian first and ask her if she knows about Tang Tailin. Auntie Wu's face was full of suspicion. I actually suspect that Yuxian knows a little, but she can't tell outsiders. Do you think her illness has something to do with this? This Tang Tailin is too outrageous. Li Yun scratched her ears and cheeks. If you want to have an affair with a man, don't get married. Isn't this cheating? Auntie Wu's gaze fell on her son-in-law. If you dare to do such a thing, I promise that I'll skin you alive. The innocent son-in-law quickly begged for mercy, saying that he only liked Li Yun. How could he do such a thing? If his sexual orientation was really different, he would definitely not get married. That's fine. Auntie Wu was very concerned about this matter because Li Yun and Yang Yuxuan were close. She was very concerned about depression. She was also a person who lived and learned. She would read books and was not an ordinary auntie. She somewhat understood the gay community, which was why she was even angrier. Because she had heard that a gay wife was cheated into giving birth to a child. In the end, she was infected by a gay man and suffered unspeakably. Xiao Yun, chat with Yu Xian online now and test her. Li Yun was assigned a task. With a pitiful heart, she immediately contacted Yang Yuxuan. Rotten Book Network on Yang Yuxuan's side. When she saw some beautiful photos that Li Yun suddenly sent over, she also replied to the other party's message. As the two of them chatted, the topic went off track. Li Yun finally decided to indirectly ask about Tang Tailin. Yang Yuxuan's mind was very sensitive. She directly asked Li Yun what was going on and whether she had discovered what Tang Tailin had done. Li Yun still didn't dare to tell her the truth. She only asked her if there was anything wrong with Tang Tailin. For example, he treated men differently. Yang Yuxuan immediately understood that Tang Tailin's sexual orientation had been discovered. Yang Yuxuan, Li Yun, just say what you want to say. Li Yun, I saw Tang Tailin on the cruise ship. Yang Yuxuan, he's on a cruise. Li Yun, I heard your mother-in-law's call the other day. She said that Tang Tailin went to check out some high-end ingredients and ended up bumping into him here. I thought it was very suspicious. Then, I realized that there was something wrong with him. He was hugging and kissing a man very intensely. If you don't believe me, I can send you a photo. Yang Yuxuan, I believe you. When Li Yun saw these two words, she didn't know what to say. Only vertex. Chapter 45-73. Auntie Wu said, looks like Yuxuan knew about it long ago and kept it a secret. This girl is so silly. She should have just left when she found out about this kind of man's true colors. Mom, she has that illness and Tang Tailin hid it too well. If we didn't know her well, would you think that Tang Tailin was a bad person? Unless someone helped her, she wouldn't be able to get rid of him. Li Yun said, this Tang Tailin is really a jerk. Jiang Juxiang is the same. She should know her son very well. I can only say that Tang Tailin hid it too well. What did he mean by keeping himself clean? It turns out that he was fooling around with men. Auntie Wu said, men who cheat are so disgusting. Tang Tailin is the most disgusting. Li Yun looked at Auntie Wu and finally understood why her father was so honest. At this age, the aunties outside didn't even dare to look at him. Li Yun sent some photos to Yang Yuxuan. Yang Yuxuan looked at the photos of Tang Tailin being intimate with a man. She wasn't angry, but she felt a little nauseous. Tang Guo saw that Yang Yuxuan's emotions were still stable, so she secretly sent a message to Yu Yu and told her about the situation here. Yu Yu sent a message to Yang Yuxuan. As Tang Guo expected, Yang Yuxuan told Yu Yu about Tang Tailin. Yu Yu was so shocked that her jaw almost dropped. This Tang Tailin was too disgusting, wasn't he? She chatted with Yang Yuxuan for a while. Yang Yuxuan was very proactive this time and said what she thought in her heart. She wanted to divorce Tang Tailin. She couldn't bear to live with such a person under the same roof and in the name of husband and wife. From the day she moved out, she suddenly felt that she could choose a different life. Yang Yuxuan was getting better. Tang Guo had already noticed this. Now that she looked at Tang Tailin's photos, her illness didn't worsen and she was even willing to get rid of him. Tang Guo agreed to divorce. When Yu Yu heard Yang Yuxuan's decision, she also agreed. Yang Yuxuan's decisiveness meant that her illness was getting better. This matter couldn't be delayed. It wasn't good for Yang Yuxuan and might worsen her illness. First Chinese network. If she could get rid of Tang Tailin as soon as possible, she could get a new life. You, I can introduce a lawyer to you. You can entrust the lawyer to handle this matter. Yang Yuxuan didn't refuse. She was also very tired and didn't want to suffer. It would be best if a lawyer could help. Yu remembered that Tang Gua had told her that she hoped that she would help Yang Yuxuan and then give her all her pocket money. She felt funny and a little distressed. Yang Yuxuan was actually a little lucky to have such a sensible and cute daughter. After hearing Yang Yuxuan's decision, Tang Gua asked the system to include some videos of Tang Tailin and Wen Lang. As long as it was a video of the two of them being intimate, it would be included in the system. After packing it up, he sent it to Yang Yuxuan's email. Although some private videos could not be used as evidence, it was good to show the Yang family and the Tang family. Just look at Tang Tailin. When they were married, the way she moved around under another man's body would probably shock them. When Yang Yu received the video package, she also felt a little strange. The name of the file attracted her, Tang Tailin's incident. Yang Yuxuan chased Tang Gua out of the room. Tang Gua guarded the door and asked the system to monitor Yang Yuxuan's situation. Unexpectedly, Yang Yuxuan was very calm the whole time. She wasn't affected by the intensity in the video. Yang Yuxuan didn't watch the whole video. She only watched part of it, but it was enough for her to understand that disgusting man. In the video, there was still a lot of time. It was all in the marriage. She wasn't angry because she didn't like Tang Tailin for a long time. She knew that this person wasn't good. It was the people around her who said that this person was good. She first dialed Mother Yang's phone. "Mom, I plan to divorce Tang Tailin. Come over with Dad. We can discuss this matter together." Without waiting for Mother Yang to say anything, she dialed Jiang Juxiang's phone and said the same thing. If it was anything else, Jiang Juxiang would definitely ignore Yang Yuxuan. However, Jiang Juxiang was still very concerned about the divorce. She quickly ran over. The summit. Chapter 45-74. The family Tang residential complex was a lot closer and would only take half an hour to get there. Jiang Juxiang ran all the way and took less than half an hour. Yang Yuxuan heard someone knocking on the door outside and glanced over. She didn't need to look to know that the only person who would knock so hard and not care about the fact that she was pregnant was Jiang Juxiang. As long as she didn't die and was pregnant, Jiang Juxiang didn't care about her. She walked over and opened the door. Jiang Juxiang looked at Yang Yuxuan and said, "Yuxuan, why are you getting a divorce all of a sudden? What are you doing? Can you joke about something like this? Aren't you pregnant? Come in first. We'll talk when my parents arrive." Yang Yuxuan didn't call Jiang Juxiang mom anymore. At the beginning of their marriage, she was willing to call Tang Tailin that way because at that time, she really liked him. However, all her love and passion had long disappeared under Tang Tailin's indifference. Jiang Juxiang felt that Yang Yuxuan was a little different today, but she didn't think too much about it. In her impression, Yang Yuxuan had always been gloomy and quiet. She wasn't particularly likable. As long as she was at home, she would definitely sit there without moving like a block of wood. With such a personality, how could her Tailin change his heart? How could she make Tailin like her? If it weren't for the fact that divorce sounded bad and it was troublesome to get married again, especially since Tailin might not be able to accept another woman, Jiang Juxiang really wanted to change her daughter-in-law. "Have a seat." Yang Yuxuan poured a glass of water for Jiang Juxiang and sat on the other side. Tang Guo was next to her, but she guessed that Yang Yuxuan would chase her back to her room soon. After all, Yang Yuxuan was going to play some scenes that weren't suitable for children. Just now, she saw Yang Yuxuan fiddling with the projector. Next to Yang Yuxuan's hand was the remote control for the projector. She only needed to gently press it and the scenes she prepared would be played. 2 hours later, the doorbell rang. Without a doubt, the Yang family had arrived. Yang Yuxuan went to open the door. As expected, the people standing at the door were the Yang family. Apart from Father Yang and Mother Yang, her brother and sister-in-law were also there. Yang Yuxuan greeted them softly and invited them in. Mother Yang's first words when she came in were, "Yuxian, what happened to you? Divorce is not a small matter. You might be impulsive and..." "That's right, Yuxuan. You're willful at home, and you have dad and mom to back you up. You can make any decision without any problems. But now that you're married, Guogua is only 5 years old, and she's about to give birth. If you divorce at this time, the child will suffer." Yang Yuxuan was not impatient because they did not know the truth. They only thought that she and Tang Tailin had a small conflict, so it was understandable. She knew that a divorce at this time might affect the child. However, if she didn't get a divorce now, she didn't know if she could still hold on. Was it really a good thing for her child to grow up in that environment? With Tang Tailin's character, would he educate her child properly? She did not expect Jiang Juxiang to be able to teach the child well. Tang Tailin was a failure. The failure she was referring to was not Tang Tailin's sexual orientation, but his cheating, irresponsibility, avoidance, and cowardice. While her mind was clear, she had to get a divorce. She had to get rid of this deformed family and this deformed husband. In the video, Tang Tailin did not look like her husband at all. Vertex. Chapter 45-75. When Tang Tailin was with her, his expression was one of restraint, forbearance, impatience, and even disgust. When she was with that person, not only would she laugh, but she would also have a bit of debauchery, a bit of intoxication, and a very strong desire. She didn't expect to see that kind of strange expression on Tang Tailin's face. Yang Yuxuan's silence made the Yang family suddenly silent. They seemed to feel something. Yang Yuxuan first showed a diagnosis report to the Yang family. The Yang family stared at the diagnosis report and were stunned, moderate depression. Yuxuan. Mother Yang shouted and didn't know what to say for a while. Brother Yang and sister-in-law Yang didn't say anything. They knew about this illness. Although it didn't happen to them, the internet was so developed now that they could more or less understand it. Besides, Yang's sister-in-law and brother Yang's education level wasn't low. Even Yang Yuxuan's parents were high intellectuals in their era. They felt that Yang Yuxuan's divorce wasn't good. They were afraid that she would be willful and regret it in the future. But when they saw the diagnosis report, all their persuasion stopped in their throat and they couldn't speak anymore. It was already moderate. If it wasn't controlled, it could worsen at any time. At that time, Yang Yuxuan might die at any time. Some time ago, I thought every day that if I could be as free as the clouds in the sky, I wouldn't have any worries. I don't have to divorce, I don't have to explain to you, and I don't have to care about everyone's opinion. Yang Yuxuan said lightly. She touched Tangua's head. My daughter is so obedient. She's so obedient. If she loses her mother, I don't know if she will be bullied. Dad, Mom, I want to live. Only by living can I take care of my daughter. Do you think that if I get divorced, I will be as miserable as I am now? Since I married Tang Tailin, he has never taken care of the child for a day. Do you know? He doesn't like my child at all. He even hates children and thinks that they shouldn't exist in this world. The Yang family was speechless. How could it be? Jiang Juxiang jumped up and said, how could it be? How can it not be? Since the child was born, Has Tang Tai-lin looked at her seriously and held her? Did he buy her a small gift? Did he come back early for her birthday? No. Yang Yuxuan's smile was full of sarcasm. Every day, I always go home after midnight because I don't want to face everyone at home. Your son is such a person. Why do you want him to harm me? Jiang Juxiang found that Yang Yuxuan scolded her, and the Yang family didn't speak up for her. How could the Yang family help Jiang Juxiang again? Just a diagnosis of depression was enough to show that Yang Yuxuan was not doing well in the family care clinic. The only reason she got such an illness was because she had been wronged in the family care room, and it was not caused by just 1 or 2 days. This kind of illness could be said to be easy, but it could also be said to be difficult. Guogua, listen to Mama and go into the house first, okay? Yang Yuxuan touched Tang Guo's head and said gently, wait for Mama to call you, then come out. Tang Guo nodded in agreement. After all, she was just a child. She had to avoid this kind of situation. After Tang Guo went in, Yang Yuxuan returned to her seat. I want to show you something. Yang Yuxuan picked up the remote and turned on the projector. The Yang family and Jiang Juxiang were a little confused. Wasn't she going to talk about the divorce? But when they saw the first scene on the projector, they were all stunned. Climax. Chapter 45-76. The first image was of Tang Tai-lin sitting in front of a long table. There was still time on the photo. Jiang Juxiang looked at the time and was stunned. Didn't Tang Tai-lin go to look for ingredients? At that moment, Jiang Juxiang and the Yang family were guessing that Yang Yuxuan wanted a divorce because Tang Tai-lin went to gamble. Jiang Juxiang gritted her teeth. Gambling was something that could be done. She planned to give Tang Tai-lin a good lecture when he came back. He definitely couldn't do that. He actually dared to cheat her into gambling. No wonder Yang Yuxuan wanted a divorce. Yang Yuxuan observed their reactions calmly. She pressed the remote control again and projected the second image. Tang Tai-lin was still at his original position, but there was a man beside him. When they saw the man clearly, she pressed the remote control again and a new image appeared. Jiang Juxiang and the Yang family stared at the image in disbelief. That man actually pulled Tang Tai-lin up and kissed him. It looked very intense. Yang Yuxuan looked at the Yang family. Mom, a dog can't change its habit. Do you see that? Tang Tai-lin likes men. This can't be changed. I feel terrible living with such a person. I don't know what to do. To be honest, I've never seen such an unrestrained and passionate Tang Tai-lin. It's indeed different when he's with the person he likes. She turned her gaze to Jiang Juxiang. They're so in love. Why did you let him marry a woman? You even hid Tang Tai-lin's past and sexual orientation. This is cheating. You lied to me. The Yang family was already angry. When they saw the intimate images of Tang Tai-lin and Wen Lang, Father Yang and Brother Yang almost jumped up and hit them. They had heard from Yang Yuxuan that Tang Tai-lin liked men. They thought that as long as he changed and was willing to live a good life, it was still possible for him to not do it again. Looking at Tang Tai-lin now, they felt like they were being slapped in the face. Jiang Juxiang didn't know what to say. When she saw these images, she felt her blood pressure rise. Tai-lin actually lied to her and went to play with this man. She was so angry. Maybe this is considered an ordinary affair. Yang Yuxuan said sarcastically. You think you can continue living with him after changing? That's what you're thinking, right? She looked at Jiang Juxiang as she spoke, and her gaze swept across the Yang family. Looking at the Yang family members' angry faces, she knew that the Yang family members would not persuade her to continue living with Tang Tai-lin in the face of the truth. The Yang family was satisfied with Tang Tai-lin because he was motivated, hardworking, willing to work hard, and kept himself clean. But now, Tang Tai-lin was having an affair, and he was having an affair with a man. Their image of a perfect son-in-law was shattered. There's more to come. Yang Yuxuan put away her mocking expression and pressed the remote control hard. The image that was projected was a video. Everyone saw Tang Tai-lin cuddling with a few men in the room. The clothes on his body were constantly being removed. They all widened their eyes. Although they could imagine what would happen between Tang Tai-lin and a man, seeing it with their own eyes was a different feeling. When Jiang Juxiang saw that Tang Tai-lin was on the receiving end, she couldn't help but scream. She wanted to rush over and snatch the remote control from Yang Yuxuan. Mother Yang's speed was very fast. She went over and held Jiang Juxiang down. Vertex. Chapter 45-77. When Father Yang and Brother Yang saw this, they came over to help. Jiang Juxiang was held down tightly. She could only watch as her son's ugly behavior was seen by everyone. It was so embarrassing. At this moment, she understood that Tang Tai-lin and Yang Yuxuan's marriage couldn't be saved. She even had to consider not letting these images spread. Otherwise, how would the people around her look at her son? If this spread, how would they be able to face others? Would she still be able to walk around in the neighborhood? She didn't know what those people with big mouths would say later. Jiang Juxiang was held down tightly. Yang Yuxuan played many images in succession for everyone to see. Some were at home, some were in the car, some were in the garage, and some were in the field. Yang Yuxuan looked at these videos calmly. She was expressionless. Instead, she was a little relaxed. Tang Tai-lin's disguise as a good man was finally exposed in front of her parents. They no longer had a reason for her to catch this so-called good man. It was funny. Tang Tai-lin was usually a cold and elegant person. Under that man's body, he actually moaned so lewdly. It really refreshed her understanding. Jiang Juxiang stopped struggling. Although her eyes were red, she didn't want to see those images. However, the sounds coming from them still made her suffer. Mother Yang finally couldn't bear it and shouted, "Divorce." She couldn't afford to have this kind of son-in-law. She was wrong. She thought that Tang Tai-lin was a good man. How could such a Tang Tai-lin bring a happy life to her daughter? She was wrong. She was really wrong. She looked at Yang Yuxuan and found that Yang Yuxuan's calm face didn't change at all. It was as if she had already expected all of this. What made her even worse was that she found that Yang Yuxuan was no longer the obedient daughter she was proud of. "I've already asked the lawyer to deal with the divorce. I'm just informing you today." When Yang Yuxuan said this, it was as if she had opened a door. In the past, it was her parents who arranged her life. She felt guilty and unfilial for not listening to her parents. Now, she suddenly understood that it wasn't like that. When she was strong and made choices for her life, no one could stop her. Dr. Yu was right. Her life was her own choice. It wasn't happiness like what her parents thought. She felt happy. That was true happiness. "Yu Xian, turn that off," Father Yang said tiredly. He also felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. He didn't think that the previous diagnosis report was exaggerated at all. Tang Tai-lin was not a good person. He had harmed his daughter. "Where is Tang Tai-lin?" Big Brother Yang said, "After I find him, I must make him shed a layer of skin." Eldest sister-in-law Yang pulled eldest brother Yang. "Don't be rash. If you hit Tang Tai-lin, the other party will blame it on you and harm Yuxuan. And the man with Tang Tai-lin, I feel that he's not ordinary." Seeing their reactions, Yang Yuxuan didn't feel much. As long as you don't stop me from getting a divorce, you don't have to do anything. My lawyer will handle it for me. She turned off the video and let go of Jiang Juxiang. She quickly ran to Yang Yuxuan and begged, "Yuxuan, I agree to your divorce, but you have to delete those videos. How about it? Don't spread these videos. It's not good for anyone." Yang Yuxuan looked at Jiang Juxiang's pleading face. This was the first time she saw Jiang Juxiang lowering her head. It was for Tang Tailin, even if she was extremely disappointed in her son. Vertex. Chapter 4578. I won't expose these videos. If I expose them, it'll be an invasion of privacy. Compared to Tang Tailin, I know what propriety, justice, integrity, and shame are. Jiang Juxiang was mocked until her face turned red and white. She wanted to say something, but Yang Yuxuan interrupted her. "These videos were sent to me by someone else. There are other people who know about Tang Tailin. As for what they will do, I don't know. No matter what, Tailin is still Guoguo's father," Jiang Juxiang said. She was panicking. "Yuxuan, can you think of a way? Since the other party sent the videos to you, they must know you. They might even be your friend." Yang Yuxuan's mouth twitched. "They might not be friends. They might be victims like me. That man should be about the same age as Tang Tailin. Why don't you guess that it was his wife who sent the videos to me?" Jiang Juxiang was stunned. This possibility still existed. "You can leave. When Tang Tailin comes back, my lawyer will contact him. If he doesn't agree, I can only sue him." Yang Yuxuan drove everyone out. The Yang family didn't stay either. The Yang family stood at the door. They still couldn't let go. "Yuxuan is blaming us." Mother Yang wiped her red eyes. Who would have thought that Tang Tailin was that kind of person? He hid it so well. That illness, can Yuxuan bear it? I heard that she has to take medicine. Yuxuan is pregnant now. She definitely didn't take medicine. Mother Yang panicked when she thought of this. She grabbed Father Yang and asked. Father Yang didn't know much about this. He only said that he would come over every day to visit Yang Yuxuan and bring her some food. Mother Yang was relieved, but she still felt terrible. When Tang Tailin returned home, he received a phone call. It was the lawyer that Yu found for Yang Yuxuan. When he heard that Yang Yuxuan wanted to divorce him, he was stunned. Before he could react, Jiang Juxiang, who had just returned from grocery shopping, came up to him and gave him a tight slap. How did I give birth to you? Why are you so disobedient? Are you worthy of your mother for the things you've done? Tang Tailin covered his face. The lawyer seemed to have heard something and told him to check his email. Yang Yuxuan sent him some information and hoped that he would agree to the divorce as soon as possible. Otherwise, they would be waiting for Yang Yuxuan to sue them. When that happened, it wouldn't look good for everyone. Yu's lawyer naturally did his best to fight for Yang Yuxuan's interests. Tang Tailin endured the pain and ignored Jiang Juxiang. He opened his mailbox and downloaded the file. After reading it, his face turned pale. Before the lawyer hung up, Tang Tailin requested to see Yang Yuxuan but was rejected. The lawyer said that he was representing Yang Yuxuan. She was already pregnant and couldn't be agitated. Tang Tailin agreed to meet with the lawyer to discuss the divorce. Jiang Juxiang did not stop him. He guessed that Jiang Juxiang had also seen those videos. He was frustrated and angry. After meeting with the lawyer and seeing the contents of the divorce agreement, Tang Tailin's face turned even uglier. That doesn't make sense. What right did Yang Yuxuan have to take half of his assets? She didn't mind giving the child to him. He didn't like the child at all. He didn't have a problem paying child support, but he wasn't willing to take half of his money. The lawyer smiled. What does Mr. Tang think is unreasonable? You can think about it first. If you don't agree, the judge will make the decision. At that time, you will get at least half of it and compensate Ms. Yang for mental damage. Your behavior constitutes marriage fraud. I believe that the judge will make a reasonable decision. You may lose more than this. I want to see Yang Yuxuan. I'm sorry, Ms. Yang can't see you right now. If you have anything to say, you can talk to me directly. I'm representing Ms. Yang to talk to you. Climax. Chapter 45-79. Tang Tailin was very unhappy that he couldn't see Yang Yuxuan, but there was nothing he could do. Jiang Juxiang asked him how the divorce was going. At this point, Jiang Juxiang knew that Tang Tailin's marriage couldn't be salvaged. Yang Yuxuan didn't live in the place she used to live. She went over to take a look before, and the neighbors said that she hadn't been back for a few days. Jiang Juxiang wanted to ask her to stay, but Yang Yuxuan didn't give her a chance. She was afraid that she would anger Yang Yuxuan and ruin Tang Tailin's reputation. So be it if they got a divorce. Jiang Juxiang didn't look like she could have a son anyway. If she could really give birth to a son, they would all be connected by blood. Could it be that the other party would sever the blood relationship between them? But when she heard Tang Tailin say that Yang Yuxuan's lawyer had agreed on the division of assets in the divorce agreement, Jiang Juxiang jumped up higher than anyone else. She made a big fuss and definitely didn't agree to it. If I don't agree to the divorce, Yang Yuxuan will sue me. Tang Tailin said impatiently. He looked at Jiang Juxiang with blame. If you didn't insist that I get married, would things have come to this? Jiang Juxiang was silent and felt a little wronged. After a while, she said, "What can you do if you don't get married? You're getting married when you're of age. You can't really find a man, right? If you find a man, won't our family be cut off? If the neighbors know about this, won't they be embarrassed? When we return to the village for the holidays, how will the villagers look at us? Tailin's mother is doing this for your own good. I don't want to talk about this with you." What Tang Tailin hated the most was Jiang Juxiang saying that it was for his own good. If she hadn't made a fuss about hanging herself, how could he have married a woman that he didn't like and even physically hated? Yang Yuxuan may have other evidence in her hands that can prove that we cheated on her. So, even if it drags on for a year or so, she will still win the lawsuit. Of course, Tang Tailin didn't want to give out the money, but facing reality, whether it was the agreement or being sued, there was no room for negotiation. If you can delay it, then delay it. At least until Yang Yuxuan gives birth. Jiang Juxiang suddenly had an idea. What if she gave birth to a fat boy? Besides, some things can't be solved just by dragging it out, right? Maybe after half a year or a year, Yang Yuxuan would change her mind and not want a divorce because she pitied the two children. In fact, Tang Tailin was still unwilling to pay. This was all his money. It had nothing to do with Yang Yuxuan. However, when they got married, the marriage laws didn't stipulate so much. Furthermore, the restaurant was only recently built. Even the big house they lived in now was bought after they sold their original small house. He also bought a nursing home for Jiang Juxiang after they got married. On the contrary, the shop under Yang Yuxuan's name and the house in the city center were all bought for her by the Yang family. They had nothing to do with him. When Jiang Juxiang heard this, she scolded loudly in the house, "The people in the city are too cunning and scheming. How did Mom find you such a scheming family? If we had known earlier, we would have also bought the house before marriage. It has nothing to do with Yang Yuxuan." Tang Tai-lin was a little sarcastic. At that time, the restaurant was still on the rise. He couldn't afford to buy a big house before marriage. Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tai-lin both planned to drag things out. Vertex. Chapter 4580. Yang Yuxuan was also stunned after knowing Tang Tai-lin and Jiang Juxiang's attitude. When the Yang family found out, they almost scolded. After all, they were cultured people and could not scold them. Since that was the case, Yang Yuxuan could only ask the lawyer to help her sue Tang Tai-lin. Just the video of Tang Tai-lin being intimate with men in public was enough to prove that he not only cheated on her but also cheated on her. Yang Yuxuan handed over another piece of evidence to the lawyer. It was a recording of Tang Tai-lin and his mother at home. It was a recording of their conversation a long time ago. Originally, after knowing Tang Tai-lin's sexual orientation, she told the Yang family that she wanted to let them hear the recording. Unfortunately, she was interrupted at that time and kept it in her phone. It was only recently that she dug it out. This recording was made at home and it could be used as evidence. Now, she could finally openly tell everyone that Tang Tai-lin had cheated her of a marriage. In this recording, there was an argument between the mother and son. It could completely prove that the mother and son hid the truth of the matter and cheated her into marriage. As for the evidence of Tang Tai-lin's extramarital affair, there was too much. Yang Yuxuan still decided not to show up and let the lawyer handle everything. She should have enough evidence. However, with Yu Yu's reminder, she still kept it for herself in case something else happened. Yu Yu's worry was not wrong. When Wen Lang found out about Tang Tai-lin's matter, he decided to help him and planned to bribe Yang Yuxuan's lawyer. However, this lawyer was friends with the Xia family in Xia Yi. Wen Lang's bribe was useless. Tang Guo felt that Wen Lang was dishonest. If not for waiting for Meng Shi to grow up, she really wanted to teach Wen Lang a lesson in advance. For a company like the Wen Corporation, there was definitely something dirty. As long as she moved her finger slightly, she could make the other party fall into trouble. This time, she did not do anything. She just caused some trouble for Wen Lang and caused him to lose 2 projects. In other words, she helped the Wen Corporation's competitors snatch those 2 projects. This caused Wen Lang to make a mistake in his decision and temporarily could not take care of Tang Tai-lin. Yang Yuxuan's first divorce lawsuit would be rejected according to the normal procedure. Then, Yang Yuxuan waited for the second lawsuit. A few months later, Yang Yuxuan gave birth to a healthy baby girl in the hospital. Tang Guo often sang to her little sister. She accidentally used a sound attack, which made the baby very obedient. When she came out, she slept soundly and did not make any noise at all. After Jiang Juxiang knew that it was a girl, she had no intention of fighting for the child at all. She didn't even come to see the child. Although Yang Yuxuan knew that the second child was a girl, she was still very happy to see her daughter. According to Jiang Juxiang's temperament, if it was a boy, there would definitely be a lot of involvement. It was good that it was a girl. Jiang Juxiang didn't care about girls, which was exactly what she wanted. When she recovered, she would continue to work and raise the child herself. Yang Yuxuan was afraid that Tang Guo would be jealous, so she often comforted Tang Guo that even if she had a younger sister, she still liked her. This made Tang Guo a little dumbfounded. She was not a real child. She felt that her task was arduous. In addition to taking care of her mother, she also had to take care of her sister. It was really a busy and fulfilling world. When it was time for the second lawsuit against Tang Tai-lin, Yang Yuxuan still did not show up and hired a lawyer. As for Tang Tai-lin, he did not remember that Yang Yuxuan had a child at all. The Peak. Chapter 4581. In the courtroom, Tang Tailin's expression darkened as he watched the lawyer speak in an orderly manner. The lawyer even took out Yang Yuxuan's diagnosis report and invited people from the same neighborhood to testify. The witnesses were Li Yun's family. They said that Yang Yuxuan did not lead a good life. Otherwise, how could she have gotten that illness? They also said that they met on the cruise. There was also the clear recording. It made Tang Tailin speechless. He thought that Yang Yuxuan had a high chance of winning, but he did not expect that he would not be able to fight back. Through the lawyer, Yang Yuxuan took a lot of Tang Tailin's money. Tang Tailin thought that Wen Lang would help him, but Wen Lang's company had some problems recently, so he could not ask about it for the time being. When the divorce case was over, Wen Lang's side was almost done. Seeing this, Wen Lang really loved Tang Tailin. He used his own money to give Yang Yuxuan his share. Yang Yuxuan did not care about this. She just wanted to fight for her dignity. Now that she won, many people already knew that she was tricked into marriage and that Tang Tailin had cheated on her. Tang Tailin's share of the money was what she deserved. There was also Tang Tailin's compensation for her emotional distress and the one-time maintenance fee for her 2 daughters. She did not mind. She still had to raise her 2 daughters. The money came at the right time. After the lawsuit was over, Yang Yuxuan used the money in her hands to buy a house. After all, she could not always live in a rented house. She had rented another house for many years. It was not very spacious, but the tenant was a good person. He was very straightforward and had children. She could not suddenly kick him out. Since she had money, it was better to buy a bigger house. Yu Yu was the one who introduced her to buying a house. She heard that it was an internal discount. Yang Yuxuan took advantage of it. Do I still need medicine to control my illness? After giving birth, Yang Yuxuan had been thinking about this matter. The Yang family and Yu Yu had suggested that she feed the children formula. Now that things were almost done, she asked. How do you feel now? Yu Yu asked. Yang Yuxuan was stunned. Actually, after getting busy, she had not been in a daze for a long time. It was not like before when she could not concentrate and her memory was scattered. You're getting better. Yang Yuxuan felt it, but you still asked her to take the medicine for a while. It did not need to be too heavy. A little was enough as a supplement. Yang Yuxuan took the medicine for about a month, and you asked her to stop. In fact, Yang Yuxuan herself could clearly feel that it was not easy for her to be distracted now, and she would not be distracted. Her whole heart was on her 2 daughters. Mother Yang spontaneously came over to help her look after her daughter, and Yang Yuxuan didn't refuse. Mother Yang felt guilty in her heart, so she didn't say anything else. Yang Yuxuan named her younger daughter Yangji. As for changing Tang Guo's surname, Yang Yuxuan didn't think about it at all. When she thought about it, she felt that Tang Guo was a good name. Changing it to Yang Guo didn't seem right. However, she still asked for Tang Guo's opinion. After Tang Guo heard about it, she quickly rejected the name Yang Guo. Yang Yuxuan did not insist on it. In her opinion, there were thousands of people with the surname Tang. There was no need to insist on changing a name. At this time, Tang Guo was about to go to primary school. According to the previous discussion with Yu Yu, Yang Yuxuan decided to take Tang Guo to primary school to take the special student exam. Don't be nervous. Xia Fan looked at Tang Guo, who was waiting next to him. He saw that Tang Guo was a little faster than last year. She was almost catching up with him. He felt a sense of crisis. She was better than him in mental arithmetic and grew faster than him. Chapter 4582. When the teacher asks you what you can do, you just have to show him what you can do. Xia Fan patted Tang Guo's shoulder indifferently, like a little adult. When you pass, I'll buy you a doll. Tang Guo looked at Xia Fan with disdain. Who would play with such a childish thing? Xia Fan choked. Childish? Didn't they say that little girls like dolls? Then what do you want? Xia Fan had a lot of pocket money and didn't spend much at all. He thought that buying a gift was easy. I want to play on the swing and seesaw. Xia Fan was speechless. Wasn't that childish? When you pass, you can go. Xia Fan said with a straight face, as if he had agreed to something very difficult. It was the swing and seesaw again. It was fine if it was the seesaw, but when it came to the swing, it was always her swinging and him pushing. Tang Guo successfully passed the exam and became a primary school student with special skills. She showed her mental arithmetic ability and a little talent in music. Soon, Tang Guo began her busy primary school life. Not only did she have to study, but she also had to train her special skills, mental arithmetic, and learn some musical instruments. Yang Yuxuan didn't lack money, so she still had the money to buy musical instruments for her. She wasn't lonely in school at all. Every day when it was time, Xia Fan would naturally wait at the door of the classroom and take her to the cafeteria to eat. On the first day, Xia Fan waited for her at the door of the classroom and said coolly, "My mom asked me to take care of you." Although he looked cool, when they arrived at the cafeteria, Xia Fan worked hard as the errand boy. Xia Fan's classmates' jaws dropped when they saw this. The classmates didn't dare to ask Xia Fan who this beautiful little girl was, but it didn't stop them from gossiping. Was she Xia Fan's sister? These little boys saw that Tang Guo was pretty and wanted to play with her. They even wanted to give her candy and toys, but Xia Fan glared at them coldly. The little boys felt very wronged. Couldn't they play together? Student Xia Fan was really fierce. After the first time, there would be a second time. Xia Fan habitually went to Tang Guo's classroom after school and took her to the cafeteria to eat. Every time Xia Fan looked at the crowded queue, he would frown and knock on the table next to him, asking Tang Guo to sit there and wait. "You're so small. If you go in, you'll be gone. I'll have to find someone later. It's very troublesome." "Are you saying that I'm in trouble?" Xia Fan denied, "No, it's them who are troublesome." Xia Fan looked at the long queue, obviously referring to this. Tang Guo smiled. "Thank you, Brother Fan. I'm hungry. Very soon." Xia Fan carried the plate of rice and quickly walked to the second student by the window. He took out something from his pouch and gave it to the student. The student was pleasantly surprised and quickly carried the plate to the last student in line. Tang Guo took a closer look and didn't expect it to be a red note. He's a bit of a prodigal. System, host, you're still children. It's not good to be worried about money now, right? You've misunderstood. When Tang Guo was in the 3rd grade, she met Meng Shi. Meng Shi was a very sociable person. After meeting Tang Guo, she came to play with Tang Guo every day. She was very envious of Tang Guo. Every time there was a program, she could go on stage to perform. Little did she know that Tang Guo was very regretful now. She shouldn't have shown her talent in music. Now, whenever there was a program, the teacher would ask her to prepare with a smile. As a result, she was already a celebrity in the school when she was in the 3rd grade. At the top. Chapter 4583. She didn't reject Meng Shi's approach and treated Meng Shi the same way as the original owner. She would share everything with Meng Shi. Meng Shi's family didn't treat her well, so she didn't eat well at lunch. Tang Guo would share some meat with her. Xia Fan was very impatient with Meng Shi. he wouldn't help Meng Shi get food. He thought that Meng Shi's appearance ruined his deep friendship with Tanggua, so he didn't like her. Fortunately, Tanggua didn't ask him to help Meng Shi get food. Meng Shi didn't seem to think too much and followed Xia Fan to get food every time. At first, she would strike up a conversation with Xia Fan. Later, she found that Xia Fan always had a sour face, as if everyone owed him 5 million yuan. Meng Shi was still a little afraid of him, so she started chatting and laughing with Tanggua. Xia Fan didn't like to smile in front of others, but he just didn't like it. Only when he was alone with Tanggua would his expression be better. Almost everyone knew that Xia Fan had a bad temper. The only person who could get along with him was Tanggua, the school's celebrity. Wen Ran wasn't in this school. When Meng Shi and Wen Ran met, it was already in junior high. Wen Ran could go to that junior high because of Wen Lang. Wen Lang was the school's director and had invested a lot in the school. That school was a combination of junior high and senior high. Although this school was a private school, its facilities and teaching staff were all top-notch. In the plot, the original owner was able to go to this school because Tang Tailin suddenly felt that it was good to have a bloodline. He shifted his attention to her and asked Wen Lang for help. As for Meng Shi, her family background wasn't good, but she was hardworking and got into this school with her top grades. This time, it was easy for Tanggua to get into this school. Xia Fan's goal was also this school. Xia Fan was 2 grades higher than Tanggua. When he graduated, he looked at Tanggua with a little reluctance. On the day of graduation, Xia Fan introduced 2 friends of Tanggua's who were in the same grade as her. Tanggua actually knew them. However, they had been warned by Xia Fan when they wanted to play with Tanggua, so they didn't dare to appear in front of Tanggua. When Tanggua went to the Xia family's gathering, she also saw these 2 people. Her family members should be friends with the Xia family. From now on, they'll be the ones to get food for you. Xia Fan looked at the 2 of them. Can you complete the task given to you? No problem, boss. The 2 boys didn't refuse at all. They were very excited as if they had received a mission that could make a lot of money. Xia Fan said to Tanggua, "It's more crowded to get food. In the future, after school, they will come to look for you. Just sit there and wait like before. There are so many people, and you're so small. You'll be squeezed out as soon as you enter." What Xia Fan was most proud of was that back then, when Tanggua was almost taller than him, he did all kinds of things every day and finally managed to keep his reputation. He had been developing over the past 2 years. It would not be easy for Tanggua to surpass him. In another 2 years, he would develop again. He specially flipped through books on human growth. It should be impossible for Tanggua to surpass his height. Just like that, Xia Fan went to junior high school. However, every Friday, he would come to this school to wait for Tanggua. Tanggua's classmates all liked him. They were envious that she had such a stinky little brother by her side, but they didn't dare to approach him. Another 2 years passed. Tanggua also went to junior high school. Meng Shi also worked hard and went to junior high school together. Their results were even better than in the storyline. In the 2nd year of junior high school, Jiang Juxiang appeared in Tanggua's sight. Jiang Juxiang had aged a lot. She stood at the school gate and waited for Tanggua to finish school. Ever since Yang Yuxuan and Tang Tailin divorced, Tang Tailin couldn't get married again like Jiang Juxiang. Moreover, many people now knew about his situation, so it was impossible for them to introduce him to anyone. After so many years, Jiang Juxiang finally remembered that she still had 2 granddaughters who were related by blood. If there were no accidents, she would only have these 2 granddaughters in her life. When she found out that Tanggua's sister, Yang Ji, had the surname Yang, Jiang Juxiang dismissed the idea of looking for Yang Ji and turned to look for Tang Guo. This was the granddaughter who had inherited her old family Tang surname. Tang Guo, why aren't you walking? Have you seen your stinky little brother? Meng Shi saw Tang Guo stop and look around. Didn't your stinky little brother go to participate in a competition? Soon, Meng Shi also saw Jiang Juxiang standing at the school gate and was a little puzzled. Jiang Juxiang quickly rushed up and looked at Tang Guo with a face full of excitement. She couldn't help but tear up. Peek. Chapter 4584. Guo Guo. Jiang Juxiang looked at Tang Guo with snot and tears. Meng Shi couldn't help but look at her and ask Tang Guo in a low voice who Jiang Juxiang was. She's my grandmother. This was a blood relationship. It couldn't be broken. Moreover, Jiang Juxiang was still useful. Since she came looking for her, she didn't have to be polite. She wanted to see if Meng Shi would make the same choice. Tang Guo didn't intend to escape. Jiang Juxiang came looking for her because Tang Tailin had gone through a divorce and wouldn't agree to Jiang Juxiang's remarriage. It wouldn't be easy for him to remarry. After all, his reputation wasn't good in the small circle. No family would be willing to marry a girl into such a family. So it's your grandmother. Why didn't I hear you mention her? Meng Shi saw Jiang Juxiang's expression and automatically imagined a lot. Your grandmother must have not seen you for a long time and missed you. Then I'll go back alone and won't disturb you. Tang Guo noticed Meng Shi's envious gaze. After all, Meng Shi's grandmother either hit, scolded, or locked her out. She would never have a grandmother like Jiang Juxiang, who bought snacks to coax her granddaughter. With a face full of envy, Meng Shi waved goodbye to Tang Guo and left. What are you doing here? Jiang Juxiang wiped her tears. I'm just here to see you. Guo Guo, I miss you. What happened back then was a moment of folly. No matter what, we can't break off our relationship. I'm really happy to see you doing so well. Tang Guo only found it funny and felt that Jiang Juxiang was a little pitiful. But this pitiful and sad thing was all caused by her. Jiang Juxiang's daughter was like an ingrate who kept asking her for subsidies. She was even thick-skinned enough to let her daughter live in the retirement house. Speaking of which, this old lady still doted on her daughter. She also forgot that Yang Yuxuan was also a daughter that others doted on. Beautiful book. It was fine that she raised a son with a different orientation, but she forced him into a marriage scam. The relationship between the mother and son fell to a freezing point. If she didn't insist on a grandson, there wouldn't be such a tragedy. Yang Yuxuan would have a normal family. At least Tang Tailin wouldn't be at odds with her. Speaking of which, this family was really the same. They were indeed from the same family. I'm going home. Tang Guo walked towards a car, and the driver quickly got out to open the door for her. It was worth mentioning that Yang Yuxuan used the remaining money to start her own business. Of course, Yu Yu and Tang Guo helped her out from time to time. After so many years, Yang Yuxuan's company was doing better and better. Of course, Yu Yu was one of the reasons. Many of Yang Yuxuan's business deals were fought for by Yu Yu. Of course, this was also because Yang Yuxuan was capable and sincere. The results she produced satisfied the Xia family and made them willing to work with her for a long time. At first, it was Yu Yu's face. Later, it was Yang Yuxuan's personal charm. Now, Yang Yuxuan had completely entered the Xia family's business circle. Calculating the time, it was almost 10 years. 10 years was really a long time. Yang Yuxuan had indeed put in a lot of effort to reach this level. The current Yang Yuxuan was confident and bright. She was a female CEO that everyone admired. She had countless pursuers, but none of them could enter her eyes. Tang Gua had been paying attention. Indeed, Yang Yuxuan didn't like anyone. If she liked someone and the person was a good person, she didn't mind playing matchmaker. As for whether she needed it or not, it was still up to Yang Yuxuan. Tang Gua walked into the car. Jiang Juxiang was wiping her tears behind her, which attracted a lot of attention. Peek. Chapter 45-85. She didn't chase after her and looked pitiful. Tang Gua didn't have much sympathy. Jiang Juxiang wouldn't give up so easily. If she guessed correctly, Jiang Juxiang would often come to see her pitifully. She didn't mind. Jiang Juxiang appeared at the right time. She was really afraid that Jiang Juxiang wouldn't appear. At this time, Tang Tailin had probably thought about it and paid a little more attention to the bloodline. It was likely that Tang Tailin would appear by her side in a while. She turned around to look at Jiang Juxiang's position and revealed a meaningful smile. Jiang Juxiang returned home. Because of the divorce and Jiang Juxiang's quarrel, Tang Tailin had no choice but to break up with Wen Lang. On Wen Lang's side, because of his mistake last time, the shareholders were dissatisfied with him. He felt that his position wasn't stable yet and planned to focus on his career. To put it bluntly, no matter how important Tang Tailin was, it wasn't as important as his career. When Tang Tailin suggested that they break up, Wen Lang was indeed a little upset, but he went with the flow and agreed. It wouldn't be too late to look for Tang Tailin after he settled the company's matters. Tang Tailin didn't come home until after midnight now. When Jiang Juxiang saw him, she quickly told him about seeing Tang Gua today. Gua has grown up. She's a very beautiful girl, but when she walked out, I recognized her. She still has the shadow of when she was young. I heard that the child's surname is Yang, Jiang Juxiang said. That child is too young. When she's with Yang Yuxuan, she probably doesn't know about us and can't be close. But Gua is different. No matter what, she was at home when she was young. It's impossible for her to forget that she's related by blood. Tailin, it's been almost 10 years. You don't want to get married again. Mom won't force you. In reality, she couldn't force Tang Tailin at all. Last time, she cried and asked Tang Tailin to break up with that man. She was afraid that she couldn't force Tang Tailin to get married again. When the time came, Tang Tailin might leave the house and not acknowledge her as his mother. Ran Wen, when you two broke up, Gua was still young. Children don't remember much. She's also your daughter. If there's no accident, she's your only bloodline. Tang Tailin was finally moved. In fact, in the past 10 years, he rarely contacted Wen Lang. What happened last time made him feel a little sorry for Wen Lang, but Jiang Juxiang was crying at home, and he couldn't really ignore her. Jiang Juxiang almost jumped off the building after making such a big fuss. However, she had also promised that she would not force him to get married again. He thought about it and felt that this was a good thing. Wen Lang had a wife and was not divorced yet. Wen Lang's marriage was a business alliance, so it was impossible for him to really get a divorce and be with her. If they could, they would have done it many years ago. Calculating the time, his daughter should be 13 or 14 years old. Tang Tailin was a little moved when he thought about how the house was deserted except for Jiang Juxiang every day when he returned. No matter what, she was his daughter. Even if he didn't like Yang Yuxuan, Tang Gua was his blood. Over the years, he felt that the house was getting colder and colder, as if something was missing. Tailin. Let's not talk about anything else. As long as you can walk around, how about we invite Gua over for a meal this weekend? Jiang Juxiang asked tentatively. Tang Tailin nodded. Okay. Alright, if you're free, let's go find Guogua together. Blood is thicker than water. As long as this layer is still there, we can repair our relationship no matter what. Even Yang Yuxuan has no right to stop us. Peak. Chapter 4586. Tang Tailin and his mother did not pay attention to Yang Yuxuan's situation, nor did they know that she had entered the Xia family's social circle with Yu Yu's help. Even if she was not as powerful as the Wen family, with her own strength and connections, even the Wen family would not dare to touch her easily. In fact, if Tang Guo could do something, it was only a matter of time before she surpassed the Wen family. Tang Guo did not do so because it was not necessary. Now, Yang Yuxuan was doing very well with her own efforts. Unless Yang Yuxuan encountered some difficulties and asked her to solve them. As for her younger sister, Yang Ji, Tang Guo had been teaching this little girl since she was young. She planned to cultivate her into a talent. Of course, the most important thing was to develop Yang Ji's business ability. With her efforts, Yang Yuxuan finally paid attention to Yang Ji and felt that her younger daughter was not ordinary. As expected, after the test, Yang Yuxuan was very complicated. Although Yang Yuxuan liked her younger daughter very much, in her heart, she was slightly biased towards Tang Guo. Tang Guo treated her differently. Her original plan was that her daughter, Guogua, was smart and would definitely inherit her business in the future. Later, she found that her younger daughter was outstanding in this area, but Guogua did not seem to be interested in it. She signed up for one interest class after another, but none of them were about business. Later, she found that Tang Guo was not interested in business, so she let it be. Yang Ji liked her elder sister, Tang Guo, the most. In her heart, her elder sister was omnipotent. At a young age, Yang Ji did not know the evil in people's hearts and listened to everything Tang Guo said. As a result, she had to face all kinds of training from Yang Yuxuan at a young age. However, every time she did this, she would be praised by Tang Guo, so Yang Ji was satisfied. It was tiring, but her elder sister praised her again today. She read for a long time. For example, today, Yang Ji, who was still in primary school, looked at the task assigned by Yang Yuxuan after she finished her homework. Because Yang Yuxuan found Yang Ji's talent, she did not want to waste it, so she did this to test her. When she found that Yang Ji was not disgusted and was even interested, she focused on training and hired a professional teacher. Yang Ji did not know how sinister Darren's heart was. Yang Yuxuan was now living in a villa. Although her relationship with the Yang family wasn't as good as before, she still kept in touch with them and didn't reject the Yang family's concern. Yang family's parents also watched Yang Yuxuan get up step by step, only then did they realize that they were very wrong. In their traditional thinking, they still believed that women needed a good man to take care of them. Now, they realized that it wasn't like that. A good man was great, but if they met a bad man, their daughter's life would be ruined. Now that their daughter was strong and independent, they were sad, and they felt even more guilty. Tang Guo returned to the villa. Because Yang Yuxuan was worried about the two children at home, she hired several helpers. As soon as she got out of the car, a smiling helper came over to her with her bag and water. The helpers liked to work in the Yang family. The mistresses and young ladies here were very polite and did not look down on them at all. First miss, second miss has been nagging you for a long time. Auntie Xiang, has little sister finished her homework? Tang Guo asked casually. I'm done. I'm completing the task assigned by President Yang. Tang Guo nodded and went to Yang Ji's study to look for her. Before she reached the study, Yang Ji might have heard her return and was already waiting at the door of the study. The Peak. Chapter 4587. Yang Ji was 8 years old this year, so she wasn't considered young anymore. She looked very similar to Tanggua, so it was obvious that they were sisters. When she saw Tanggua, her calm demeanor disappeared. She ran to Tanggua with a smile and hugged Tanggua's arm. She said sweetly, "Sister, you're back. Are you tired from school?" "I'm not tired. School really wasn't tiring." To Tanggua, it was just a little boring. Yang Ji hurriedly pulled Tanggua into the house and told the others not to disturb them. She locked the house and held a book in front of Tanggua, asking Tanggua to explain it to her. Tanggua didn't refuse. Raising a capable sister who could share Yang Yuxuan's burden was her most difficult task at the moment. They were both Yang Yuxuan's daughters. There was no reason for her to do everything, right? Yang Ji didn't know that her sister was evil. There were indeed many things that she didn't understand, but asking Tanggua for help was the happiest thing for her. She really admired her sister. Also, her sister had been taking care of her since she was in her womb. She had a very good memory. She always felt that her sister had been taking care of her when she was in her mother's womb. She even sang to her. Later, when she heard her sister sing, she thought that she was right. Later, her mother also said that when she was pregnant, Tanggua would always tell her stories and sing to her. Yang Ji couldn't explain to others why she admired Tanggua so much. Anyway, she just admired her. Listening to her sister's explanation of those difficult problems, she learned them, and being praised by her sister was her favorite thing. Yang Ji was very smart. Otherwise, Tanggua wouldn't have to spend so much effort because she was indeed talented in this area. She explained the problems that Yang Ji didn't know. As expected, Yang Ji understood them immediately. Then, she looked at Tanggua with sparkling eyes. Tanggua said, "Ji, you're very good." Yang Ji laughed when she heard that. She happily pulled Tanggua to eat. Tanggua was no longer afraid that Yang Ji would expose these things in front of Yang Yuxuan, because under her brainwashing, Yang Ji would not say these things to Yang Yuxuan. When Yang Yuxuan came back, she saw her two well-behaved daughters sitting together and eating desserts. At that moment, her heart melted. Out of habit, she walked over and touched Tanggua's head. Then, she touched Yang Ji's head. She never checked Tanggua's homework, but she wanted to check Yang Ji's homework. Yang Yuxuan was very confident in Tanggua, probably because of her childhood impression of Tanggua. After the checkup, the three of them had a meal together. After the meal, they took a walk and chatted. When it was time, they went to bed. They lived a very regular life. Tanggua didn't tell Yang Yuxuan that Jiang Juxiang came to find her. Even if she told her, there was no solution. She couldn't make Jiang Juxiang disappear. Besides, this wasn't her purpose, so she didn't bother to tell Yang Yuxuan. Just like that, the day passed peacefully. The next day, after school, Tanggua walked out of the school gate with Meng Shi and met Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin. Meng Shi recognized Jiang Juxiang and hurriedly pulled Tanggua. "Your grandma is here to pick you up." The corner of Tanggua's mouth twitched. Meng Shi's IQ was not bad, and her grades were among the best. Why did she speak so stupidly? However, on second thought, Meng Shi was only 13 or 14 years old now, so she probably didn't know much about these things. Tanggua didn't explain too much. In school, she wasn't the talkative one. Even so, there were quite a lot of people who liked her because she was smart. No matter what she learned, she would not refuse anyone who came to ask her for advice. She was very popular with her classmates. Some of them were afraid to ask the teachers, so they had an inexplicable admiration for her when they came to find her. The Peak. Chapter 45-88. Is that your father? Meng Shi looked at Tang Tailin in surprise. Tang Tailin was indeed very handsome, and he cared about his image very much. He would never let himself look sloppy. My father. Tang Gua didn't deny this relationship and said coldly. Meng Shi didn't notice it, and she didn't care. She watched coldly as Meng Shi walked step by step toward the plot she was looking forward to. What would Meng Shi choose this time? Seeing Meng Shi's surprised and envious eyes, Tang Gua didn't look forward to it at all. Meng Shi's choice might still be the same as in the plot. He's your father. If you didn't tell me, I would have thought it was a celebrity. Meng Shi's eyes widened. Tang Gua, you're so lucky to have such a handsome father who comes to pick you up after school. If my father did this, I don't know how touched I would be. You're too calm. I don't expect my father to treat me well. I think it's good enough even if it's just a little bit. Meng Shi had told Tang Gua about her family before. Her father was more biased toward her stepmother and younger brother. He didn't ask about the other people's attitude toward Meng Shi. The two of them had already walked to the school gate. Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin walked over and stopped in front of Tang Gua. Tang Tailin didn't know how to communicate with Tang Gua. Jiang Juxiang quickly smoothed things over. Gua Gua. Tang Gua glanced at them indifferently. What's the matter? Tang Gua's coldness didn't disperse Jiang Juxiang's enthusiasm. She still said with a smile, your father wants to pick you up for a meal. We haven't seen each other in a long time. Then there's no need. Meng Shi was stunned. This time, she finally realized that Tang Gua's attitude toward Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin seemed a little cold. She thought that these two people didn't look like her grandmother and father. There might be some misunderstanding. Meng Shi pulled Tang Gua and asked in a low voice, why don't you eat with them? Aren't they your grandmother and father? Tang Gua retracted her gaze and looked at Meng Shi. I don't want to eat with them. This time, Meng Shi understood that there must be some story that had to be told. Tang Gua broke away from Meng Shi's arm and turned to get into the car, not giving Meng Shi a chance to ask again. How could she break her persona and reveal her secrets to Meng Shi? From her behavior, anyone with a discerning eye could tell that there must be some family conflict. Aren't they good friends? Then he should be on her side. However, Meng Shi was different. She felt that with such a good grandmother and father, there must be some misunderstanding that made them not close. Therefore, when Jiang Juxiang and Meng Shi communicated, she didn't try to avoid arousing suspicion at all. She even told them about Tang Gua's situation at school. Jiang Juxiang's face was filled with excitement, and her eyes were filled with tears. Tang Tailin was also a little moved. He didn't expect his daughter to be so smart and amazing. She had always been a top student in the grade and was number one in every subject. Tang Gua did this to make Yang Yuxuan proud, lest she let her imagination run wild and think that her daughter was not good-looking, so she divorced her. As long as she got better and better, Yang Yuxuan would think that her choice was very right. Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin invited Meng Shi to a restaurant and behaved really amiably. Who would have thought that they used to be like this? After hearing Meng Shi's words, the two of them had complicated expressions. At this moment, Meng Shi asked if there was any misunderstanding between them. The peak. Chapter 4589. Of course, Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin couldn't tell her the truth. They only vaguely said that there was something wrong with Tang Tailin and Yang Yuxuan's relationship. Meng Shi naturally thought that Tang Tailin and Yang Yuxuan's divorce had caused Tang Gua psychological trauma. In addition, for some reason, Yang Yuxuan left with Tang Gua. After so many years, they hadn't seen each other. Tang Gua blamed her father and grandmother. Before leaving, Meng Shi even told the two of them that she would persuade Tang Gua, hoping that they would resolve the misunderstanding as soon as possible. This was also her reward for treating her to a meal today. Jiang Juxiang even exchanged phone numbers with Meng Shi, saying that she needed to ask Meng Shi about some things in the future. Meng Shi didn't refuse. In her opinion, no matter what, the two of them were Tangua's grandmother and father. They were close relatives, so it was impossible for them to really break up. Besides, the two of them were really good. If she had such a father and grandmother, she would be so happy that she would go crazy, okay? She couldn't wait to throw herself into their arms. When they parted, Meng Shi was still a little reluctant. She took Tang Tailin's car home, and it was on the way. She dreamed that if her father could drive her to school and pick her up, how good would that be? Meng Shi's mind was filled with thoughts of how to persuade Tangua to reconcile with Tang Tailin and Jiang Juxiang. The next day, when Meng Shi saw Tangua, she began to indirectly ask about Tangua's family situation. Tangua didn't say anything. Meng Shi's enthusiasm wasn't dampened. When it was time for lunch, Meng Shi whispered to Tangua. Tangua raised her head and looked at Meng Shi. Did you have dinner with them yesterday? 20 to 50,000 yuan. Actually, your grandmother and father are pretty good. If I had such a grandmother and father, I would definitely go crazy with joy. I think they're good people, and it's not that they don't really care about you. Why can't they have a good talk together? Meng Shi said according to her own thoughts. Tangua really didn't know how to comment and didn't want to pay attention to Meng Shi. She didn't know if it was because the main plot had started, but Meng Shi's IQ had dropped a little. Before this, she didn't seem like a particularly annoying person. How do you know that they care about me? Tangua asked. Meng Shi hurriedly said, they all came to look for you. They must have come to look for you because they care about you. I noticed it, especially your grandmother. Her eyes turned red when she saw you. She must have missed you so much that her eyes turned red. Tangua was speechless when she saw Meng Shi's sympathetic face. Some things can't be seen on the surface. The truth might not be what you think it is. Tangua didn't intend to tell Meng Shi the specific situation. If he was a real friend and knew what was good for him, he should give up the idea of helping them reconcile when she was disgusted. Actually, your father and grandmother didn't abandon you on purpose. They must be feeling terrible. But at that time, it would definitely be better for you to follow your mother. In Meng Shi's opinion, this was the case. Tangua's mother's condition should be better than her father's. Maybe she was a rich young lady. If a rich young lady was going to get a divorce, it was impossible for her to not want her child. Tang Tailin couldn't win over someone with power and influence. Meng Shi, things aren't what you think. I hope you don't talk about this anymore. Tangua put down her bowl and chopsticks. Also, don't come over to be their lobbyist. Meng Shi saw that Tangua was a little angry, so he quickly stopped talking about this topic and apologized to Tangua. As for not being their lobbyist, he didn't take it to heart. Instead, he thought that he had to find other ways to move Tangua. It was useless to say such dry words. The Peak. Chapter 45-90. For the next few days, Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin waited for Tangua to finish school at the school gate. Tangua looked cold on the surface, but she was not as impatient as they imagined. She saw the change in Meng Shi. She would say a few words about her attitude towards Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin every day, but Meng Shi did not listen at all. She felt that there was some misunderstanding between them and felt that it was a pity to deal with it this way. In fact, Meng Shi was not the only person in Tangua's class who was familiar with her. However, relatively speaking, Meng Shi and she knew each other in primary school and junior high school. In the eyes of many people, their relationship was better. In fact, there was another girl who had a good relationship with her. The reason why they did not go home together after school every day was that this girl was a boarding student. Her name was Zhang Xingyue. In the past few days, Meng Shi found that Tang Guo was unwilling to talk to her about Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin. Anyway, whenever she mentioned it, Tang Guo's attitude would be very cold. She did not know what to do. She also found that it was useless to persuade her directly, so she thought of Zhang Xingyue. Usually, the three of them would participate in school activities together. However, Zhang Xingyue was a little dull. She felt that her brain was not as good as other students. After class, as long as she was in school, she was basically reading and doing exercises. She was many times more hardworking than Meng Shi. Zhang Xingyue. While Tang Guo was not around, Meng Shi poked Zhang Xingyue, who was sitting in front of her. Zhang Xingyue felt the movement and turned around. She was a little puzzled. What's wrong? Meng Shi quickly moved the chair to Zhang Xingyue's side and said in a low voice, I have something. Can you help me think of a way? You go first. Zhang Xingyue pushed her glasses. She was considered pretty, but she always had a pimple on her nose. Every time the old pimple healed, a new one would appear. It did not grow anywhere except on the tip of her nose. It was red and a little big. Zhang Xingyue's personality was more gentle and shy. Originally, she did not think much of the pimple on the tip of her nose. However, after entering junior high school, some male students would laugh at it, causing her to become more introverted and her grades dropped a lot. One afternoon in the first year of junior high school, Tang Guo was on duty. She came back from taking out the trash and happened to hear Zhang Xingyue crying. Thus, they got to know each other. Zhang Xingyue's foundation was a little weak. Her family condition was worse than any of her classmates. She was raised by her grandmother. What she cared about the most was not that people would laugh at her for having a pimple on the tip of her nose, but because of the drop in her grades, she felt that she had let down her grandmother's expectations. However, she was too shy to ask her teacher. She felt that she would cause trouble for her teacher. However, after getting to know Tang Guo, she still plucked up the courage to ask Tang Guo questions. After a while, they became more familiar with each other. Zhang Xingyue's grades were still not as good as Meng Shi's and Tang Guo's, but it was not a problem for her to be in the top 5 of the class. She was friends with Tang Guo, and she was one of the top 5 students in the class. Because of her hard work, the teacher appointed her as the study committee member. Her confidence had increased a lot. It's like this. Meng Shi whispered to Zhang Xingyue about his experiences over the past few days. As Meng Shi continued, Zhang Xingyue frowned. Although she already had her own thoughts, she still waited for Meng Shi to finish. It's like this. Help me persuade her. After my contact, Tang Guo's father and grandmother are really good people. Therefore, I want to help them reconcile. No matter what, they are relatives. There must be some small misunderstanding before, Meng Shi said with a serious face. The summit. Chapter 4591. Zhang Xingyue didn't agree with Meng Shi. Based on what Meng Shi said, there was indeed nothing wrong with those two people. She couldn't judge whether they were good or bad. After all, some people couldn't be judged after 1 or 2 contacts. What she cared about was Tang Guo's attitude. She had known Tang Guo for more than a year and knew her character very well. Since the other party was unwilling to go back with them, there must be a reason that outsiders didn't know. As Tang Guo's good friend, she felt that she shouldn't interfere in this kind of thing. Meng Shi, you'd better not interfere in this matter. Whether Tang Guo is willing to accept them or not is Tang Guo's business. Besides, you've only met them once or twice, so you don't know them well enough. Since Tanguo doesn't like to talk about this, don't talk about it. Meng Shi was a little incredulous and quickly grabbed Zhang Xingyue. Xingyue, Tanguo is our good friend. How can you be so cold? Can't you help her? Her father and grandmother are so good. Don't you want them to be happy? Zhang Xingyue was not good with words. She really didn't know how to refute Meng Shi's words. However, she still insisted on her own thoughts. In short, I won't help you persuade Tanguo unless she wants to. She knows better than us whether those two people are good or not. Anyway, no matter what Meng Shi said, she was on Tanguo's side. Tanguo didn't want to reconcile with those two people. As a good friend, why should she help outsiders do such unnecessary things? Meng Shi was really speechless when she saw Zhang Xingyue's serious look. Forget it, forget it. I don't expect you to do anything. When Tanguo came back, Meng Shi saw that she was in a good mood and mentioned Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin. She felt that Jiang Juxiang was very pitiful. Every time she came over, her eyes were filled with tears. She was unlike her grandmother, who gritted her teeth every time she saw her. Her face was full of wrinkles and was a little ugly. Even if you don't want to reconcile, why don't you have a meal with your grandmother? It's really not easy for her to wait for you every day. Meng Shi continued to persuade her. Zhang Xingyue frowned as she listened. She stopped reading and observed Tanguo's expression. She found that when Meng Shi was talking about the two people, Tanguo was very cold. Didn't we agree not to talk about this anymore? Tanguo's tone was light, and her brows were also wrinkled. She was a little bit worried about Meng Shi's persistence. She was calculating the time in her heart. It shouldn't be long before Meng Shi would meet the male lead, Wen Ran. Thinking of this, she was no longer angry. I wonder how An Yuan and the male lead are getting along. At the very least, they should be good brothers. Tanguo, what do you think of my suggestion? Meng Shi asked happily. Just have a meal together. You don't have to do anything else. If she couldn't convince Tanguo, she would feel a little embarrassed. Every time, Jiang Juxiang would give her a lot of snacks. Occasionally, she would ask about her situation and even invite her to dinner. Tanguo was speechless. Meng Shi's brain was getting worse and worse recently. Just as she was about to say something, Zhang Xingyue couldn't help but say, since Tanguo is unwilling, don't persuade her. If Tanguo was willing, she would have eaten with them long ago. How could that be? If I hadn't tried to persuade her, Tanguo definitely wouldn't have said more than 2 words to them. You don't know, but recently, they have been coming over every day. Tanguo doesn't talk to them at all. She just turns around and gets into the car. Meng Shi's face was full of sympathy. I think they really care about you. Zhang Xingyue whispered, since they care, won't they disturb Tanguo's studies by coming over every day? Tanguo agreed with this, but she didn't expect Meng Shi to say, how could that be? They all come over in the afternoon after school. They just want to see Tanguo. Zhang Xingyue, peak. Chapter 4592. Meng Shi. Just as Meng Shi was about to say something more, Tanguo raised her voice a little, sounding obviously angry. Meng Shi quickly shut up and looked at Tanguo cautiously. Tanguo glanced at her coldly, which made Meng Shi a little scared. She wanted to grab Tanguo's arm, but Tanguo avoided her. Don't mention this in front of me again. If you mention it again, I'll break off our friendship. Meng Shi's eyes widened. She couldn't believe it and felt wronged. She worked so hard for Tanguo's sake. She wanted to see their family live in harmony. Why couldn't Tanguo understand her? She really wanted what was best for her. Otherwise, why would she work so hard every day? Zhang Xingyue pushed her glasses and turned to read. She wasn't good at talking. She wasn't close to Meng Shi. She was familiar with her because of Tang Guo. She had already tried to persuade Meng Shi, but Meng Shi didn't listen. She didn't want to say anything more. She thought to herself that she should interact less with Meng Shi in the future so that she wouldn't be affected by her. Tang Guo said that she wanted to break off their friendship. It was obvious that she had some grudges with those two people that she couldn't talk about with outsiders. For example, she didn't want to share her family's embarrassing matters with her friends. Even if she did, they couldn't help her. At most, they would say a few words and then use it as a topic of conversation. Perhaps it wouldn't be long before many people knew about her family situation. This would make her feel very embarrassed. She knew her own affairs best. Presumably, Tang Guo was the same. Thinking of this, Zhang Xingyue turned around and tugged at Meng Shi. Since Tang Guo doesn't want to, don't force her. Do you think she'll be happy if you force Tang Guo to eat? Meng Shi, you're Tang Guo's friend, not those two people's friend. No wonder Tang Guo is angry that you're here to persuade her. Meng Shi felt wronged. After hearing Zhang Xingyue's words, she felt even more wronged. I just think they're really good. I just want to see them reconcile. She wanted to continue speaking, but she found that Zhang Xingyue had already turned around to read. Tang Guo also sat down and took out her tablet to play. Her grades were good, and it was noon now. The school would not confiscate electronic products. As long as she did not play in class, there would be no problem. Meng Shi looked at Zhang Xingyue and then at Tang Guo. When she realized that Tang Guo was really ignoring her, she felt a little helpless. She did not think that she had done anything wrong. She was really doing it for the good of Tang Guo. There was also Jiang Juxiang, Tang Guo's grandmother. She looked really pitiful. For the whole afternoon, Tang Guo didn't talk to Meng Shi again. Meng Shi didn't dare to say anything. She was also a little afraid that Tang Guo would really break off their friendship. After school, she chased after Tang Guo. Zhang Xingyue was a little worried, so she hurriedly chased after her. Sure enough, Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin came again with some snacks in their hands. In their opinion, as long as they came every day, they would definitely be able to move Tang Guo. However, they didn't know that doing so was useless. The more Meng Shi looked at the two of them, the more pitiful she felt. She wanted to say something to Tang Guo, but she stopped. Every time she wanted to say something, Tang Guo's words of breaking off their friendship rang in her mind, making her unable to speak. Tang Guo stopped in front of Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin. Before the two of them could send a message, Tang Guo's cold voice sounded. Your appearance has affected my studies. Please don't disturb me in the future. Meng Shi wanted to say something, but she was a little afraid. The Peak. Chapter 45-93. Zhang Xingyue stood at the side and watched this scene. She did not feel much. Anyway, she did not sympathize with Jiang Juxiang at all. This was because she had once faced such a scene. Her biological parents favored boys over girls. In order to give birth to a younger brother, they abandoned her. It was her grandmother who picked her up and raised her. Later, when she was 10 years old, her parents came back and wanted to take her back. It was similar to Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin. Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin smiled awkwardly, but they were not angry with Tang Guo. The two of them really wanted to take Tang Guo back because Tang Tailin might only have this one bloodline in his life. Yang Ji's surname was Yang, so they did not think that she was the blood of the Tang family. The more they knew how outstanding Tang Guo was, the more unwilling they were to give up. Even if Tang Guo's attitude was not good, which made Mengshi sympathize with the two of them more and more. She did not dare to say anything at this moment. After Tang Guo said that sentence, she said goodbye to Zhang Xingyue and got into the car without saying goodbye to Mengshi. Mengshi felt Tang Guo's coldness and alienation and finally panicked. She called out twice, but Tang Guo did not respond. Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin walked in front of Mengshi and apologized. Then, they gave a bag of snacks in their hands to Mengshi. Mengshi could not refuse. They also noticed Zhang Xingyue, who wanted to get closer to Tang Guo's classmate, and gave her the other bag of snacks. Zhang Xingyue politely refused, saying that she did not deserve it. However, Jiang Juxiang was not willing to give up. She hoped that Zhang Xingyue could tell her about Tang Guo's situation and help her. Zhang Xingyue also refused. She said goodbye to them and returned to the dormitory. In front of Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin, she did not say anything to Mengshi. Thinking of Mengshi's reaction, she felt that it was useless to say anything, so she threw this matter to the back of her mind. Mengshi and Jiang Juxiang talked for a while and then embarked on the way home gloomily. She wanted to go back quickly, so she took the alley and rode a bicycle. Then, she met Wenran, who was fighting. "Dear host, they have met." "Okay." Tang Guo ignored Mengshi for a long time. Mengshi finally panicked and did not dare to mention Jiang Juxiang again. However, every time she looked at Tang Guo, she wanted to say something but hesitated. Tang Guo had ignored the other party for half a month. Finally, she could talk to him again. This time, Mengshi didn't dare to say anything to her. Jiang Juxiang and Tang Tailin would occasionally come to the school gate, but Tang Guo would always walk past them. When Yang Yuxuan found out about this, she felt that she was too careless and felt very guilty. She didn't notice that someone had come to disturb her precious daughter. They won't come again. Yang Yuxuan stroked Dun's head like a bossy president. "I'll take care of this. If you encounter such a situation in the future, you must tell Mom, okay?" Tang Guo agreed obediently. Yang Ji also clenched her fists and said angrily, "When I grow up, I can also protect my sister." Tang Guo was instantly happy. She didn't raise this sister for nothing. Yang Yuxuan's method was very rough. First, she called Jiang Juxiang and warned her that if she didn't want to watch Tang Tailin's video, she should be tactful and not disturb her daughter's studies. What she did to Tang Tailin was even simpler. She sent him a video to tell him to give up. In the beginning, these two people didn't care about Tang Guo at all. Why did they suddenly know what blood relations were as they got older? How shameless! Yang Yuxuan felt that it wasn't enough and used some connections. Tang Tailin didn't have time to be angry at all. He was being checked on every day. They really found out that there were some problems with the restaurant and asked him to rectify it quickly. Peek, you're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.